Good evening, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. My name is Trid, and I'm, of course, joined by Gio this evening. We're going to walk you through this week's action.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. As you say, it's the second week of the competition. So last week we got a feel for which teams are doing pretty well, how things are going, who's doing pretty good. I mean, last week the favorites were the UWL team. And I think we will see later when we see the standings. I think they did pretty well, so they lived up to the expectations. But you never know what's going to happen this week. Maybe we'll have someone rise from the bottom and a couple of shakeups.
Let's see how they can rise from the bottom as we pull up our format. So this is exactly what these players are going to earn by winning and finishing in these particular maps. So if you get first place, that's 20 points guaranteed. And right at the bottom, you can see that each kill gives 1 point. So placement definitely feeling a lot more important than kills.
Yeah, really going to be looking out for those chicken dinners, and that's what those teams who are kind of sitting at the bottom of the standings, which we can now see, it is Young Boys right at the bottom there with just 5 points in total. They are going to be the ones who are really looking to make those shakeups in those placements. And at the top, we have PUBG Mobile Keck W sitting there with 78 points, so not doing too badly.
Yeah, imagine my shock when the top 4 teams are all the teams that came first place.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
But actually, when you look at, like I said, UWL, University of West London, a lot of their points came from kill points. And they're pretty much, I think, one of 3 teams who got more kill points than they did placement points. And so that'll be interesting to look out for, because if they do actually do well in the placements today, then we could see them shoot up quite a bit if we already know that they're a team who are going to be consistent in getting those kills.
Yeah, this is a journey that's going to go on several weeks, and it's all about that placement at the end. So this is just topping up those points, making sure you're staying competitive. Let's take a look at today's schedule and find out exactly where these teams are going to be playing. No different from week 1. We're going to kick things off on Erangel, move over to Miramar, go over to Sandhawk, and close it out on Vikendi.
Yeah, I like that we start off on Erangel, because it's a very, some of these maps in PUBG are more suited to certain skill sets. So, for example, Sandhawk being very small, that's where you see a lot of those really aggressive gunfights. And if you can see a team who do get those really smart, nippy rotations, that can be interesting. But Erangel's very balanced. And it's where you can see people kind of go for their preferred playstyle and see them make that work for themselves. And that always gives a really nice dynamic, I think, when you're trying to get an idea of, okay, how are these teams going to go today? How are they going to play? Where are these kind of top scorers, or who are we going to expect?
Yeah, and obviously some maps cater to different playstyles. As Gio said, when we move over to maps like Sandhawk and Vikendi, which are just typically smaller than Erangel and Miramar, we're expecting slightly faster pace action. And to really set the scene with the level of play, we're going to see here a lot of people are getting involved. We've got some PUBG PC players that have converted over to mobile. We've got some players who have picked it up just to jump into the tournament, which is always fantastic to see.
Yep.
And then, of course, we've got some players who are actually competing at the higher levels of PUBG Mobile. So there's a wide spread on this tournament, and really, I think you're going to be able to pick out who's at which stage along that path.
Well, actually, yeah, it's the guys from the University of Kent that's the team that you're referencing there, where they actually have a player who plays in PMCO. So this guy is literally a professional PUBG Mobile player. He knows what he's doing, and he's grabbed 3 of his friends, and he's like, right, we're going to play in this tournament. And if I remember correctly, they're one of the teams who actually got one of the chicken dinners last week. So the fact that he's been able to take 3 guys who aren't really all that familiar with the game, he's been able to just wrangle them in, provide that leadership. It kind of shows just how much that adds to this sort of competition. I'm really interested to see if he's going to be able to do that again this week, or if maybe some of the other teams have looked back on the VODs and scrimmed. We don't know how much these teams actually do that, but they're like, all right, we need to take that guy down.
Yeah, I think week 2 is going to be slightly more important than week 1. Anyone can pick up, jump into a tournament and see how they do. Yeah. But week 2 is when you get to see which teams are iterating, which teams are improving.
It's the consistency.
Exactly, which ones are consistently developing. And if we see some teams at the lower rank suddenly shoot up to week 2, I'm more impressed than that by teams who are just going to maybe sit around middle of the pack, or maybe even decline in rankings.
Right, because that's when you start to see, okay, these are the teams that have put in some work, put in some graft this week to make those improvements. And one thing, it doesn't even matter what game it is, any game that you ever play, any esport you ever watch, they will always say the teams you want to look out for are the ones that show that they can pick out their weaknesses and improve upon them. And so that's, I totally agree with you, that is why you want to be looking out for things like that coming into these later weeks. off the back of week 1, okay, we know how things have started, we know what that fundamental baseline is, let's see who can build on that, who can make those improvements, who can change their playstyle and adapt.
And believe me, there's a lot of improvements to work on.
Oh,
no flame.
that's so cruel.
No flame. I tuned in for a little bit of last week just to see what was going on. A couple of teams dying to blue circle, not what you want to see.
Yes, I did see a couple of players running. You just see them running desperately to get back into the circle, and the play zone is just like, nah, sorry, nah.
Not happening today, fam. I'm not vibing with that.
Absolutely not.
So obviously we're looking for player improvements. Erangel, as we've already mentioned, is going to be our first map as well. Expecting slightly slower pace on this one, but it all comes down to where the players are going to be dropping out of the plane. I can't imagine a lot of these teams being new would have set drop zones. Maybe, like you said, the team that Will is almost leading might have a set drop zone because he might mandate it as boss man, knowing what to go on. But a lot of these teams, I think it might be a bit free-for-all. We might see a few hot drops because I don't think they're going to be as organized as top-level teams are. Yeah,
that's going to be the interesting thing, and I think that's why a lot of those kill points are really interesting and important in this competition, because when you have teams dropping down on those hot drops, they're not necessarily forward planning where they're going to go. They don't have rotations planned. They don't have specific positions planned. So they have to win out those gunfights in order to progress to the next part of the map if they are to move towards the circle. And so that is why I think we have seen quite a few kill points, especially at those top teams, because it's very important. Whereas when you compare it to kind of how it's played on PC, a lot of it comes in with the rotations and the placements, and even if there aren't loads of kills going off on any particular team. So I definitely agree with you on that one. And I mean, you never know, because sometimes you're going to find that you see the trajectory of the plane, you think it's going to go one place, isn't going to go there. You have to completely change up your mind. I mean, I think last week, the Erangel game started off looking like it was going to go to military base, and it went all the way to the east side of the island. So
yeah, fast swaps with the circles. A lot of teams often praying for close circles rather than going all the way across an entirely new area to get in there. One of the things to note with this as well is that I've completely lost my point. That's one thing to note.
I love it when that's noted. That's my favorite thing. But yeah, no, I totally agree with that point.
Losing your sentiment.
I think that's a very, very good point. But no, you are right that, you know, especially a lot of teams, what we saw last week especially, did drop down around George Pole, so in that west side of the map. And then we had that complete east side circle, and suddenly everyone has to make those rotations. And that can be kind of stressful, especially starting out on the first map of the day. And you're like, oh man, we've got to deal with this. We're going to have to go through potentially carnage to battle our way through. We don't have necessarily set rotations. It's not going to be easy, and obviously it's always lovely to be that team who happens to land right in the center of the circle. I've seen that before, and you just have people start to close in on you, and it gets a bit stressful. But I think what will be really interesting to see is if something similar happens, how the vehicle play is going to go. Because not only do you have people who can get in their vehicles, they can get in like cars, but they can also get in things like boats and try and make those long rotations. But one thing they always say in PUBG, and I know you've worked on PUBG just as well as I have, so you will absolutely be aware of this, don't put your full team in a vehicle.
No, absolutely not.
And I saw that last week.
Did
and I
you?
was thinking, yeah, and I was thinking, don't do it. Don't do it, boys.
It just takes one vehicle blowing up and then you got a complete squad wipe.
That's it.
But also what's interesting as well is you see a lot of teams, especially in PUBG Mobile, I believe a lot of teams in traditional PUBG also do this as well, is use vehicles for cover. So they will self-destruct their own vehicles, position them, especially in the later zones where they can wedge them between rocks and trees and create these lines of cover for them to operate from. Always provides that added safety. And I remembered what I was going to say as well, just to point out, when you play PUBG Mobile, obviously on a mobile device, it is extremely difficult if you are not used to mechanically inputting what you have to do. It is very different to using a keyboard, it's very different to using a gamepad. So a lot of these players who are new not only to PUBG Mobile, but mobile gaming as well, often struggle to act mechanically. So while you can have some understanding, you can get the strategy right, you may not have the function to actually do what you need to do at this time, because it is a skill that needs to be learnt like anything else.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because when you look at PC gaming, a lot of the rhetoric that comes up is, oh, you know, that person, their game sense isn't great, but they're a great fragger. Like, they know how to use mouse and keyboard. But in this sense, it's almost the entire opposite. It's like, well, their game sense may be great because they might have experience playing the PC version, but if they don't know how to use their fingers on a mobile phone, they could be struggling a little bit more, because you've obviously got to be able to, I don't know, ADS, move around, strafe. You've got to know how to do all these things. And it's such a major part of the game, to the point that If ever you go and see professional PUBG Mobile players' Twitter profiles or their Instagram profiles, it usually says how many fingers they play within it. That's like such a huge part of the identity of how to play PUBG Mobile. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a 4-finger player. I'm a if you're crazy, I'm a 6-finger player. I'm a 3-finger player. It's a really important part, and it's such a major part in learning to become good at the game.
And I think that's going to be the biggest tell of who the experienced players and who the newer players are when we go into their POVs, is how they are moving. It's not even about what their aim is like. It's oftentimes you'll see stuttery movement, it won't be as clean, then you'll cut to a player who is experienced, who has picked up the right technique, and you'll see it look smooth like it's a console or a PC player.
Yeah, it's like one bit that I remember seeing last week. I don't remember which team it was, but someone was trying to peek over a wall. They knew that another team was in a compound or a building just ahead of them, and they accidentally pre-fired. And it gave away the position, and the whole team went down. And that's exactly one of these instances where you see stuff like that happen, and you're like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. You just messed up on the phone, and that's...
You've also got to make sure, please, for the love of God, players, turn Do Not Disturb on before you get into games, because notifications have killed me many a time when I've been trying to play this game.
You don't accidentally open Snapchat and be like, I don't want to talk to you, girlfriend.
Or boyfriend, we don't know.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I picked one and I went with it.
One or the other, have to roll with it. Well, we're just about to get into the lobby. We've been told we've got about another 30 seconds left. Organising 64 players isn't easy, as you'd imagine. So once we get more into the lobby, we'll be jumping onto Erangel as our first map, and we'll bring you all the action. We're hoping to get a nice shot of the map as well, find the lay of the land, so we can bring that to you, know exactly where we're going to start playing. And as we've already mentioned, we're expecting chaos at the beginning, purely because I imagine these teams are going to start hot dropping on top of each other.
The chaos is so much fun. I mean, especially when everyone just lands down in George Pole or Pachinki because they won all of the loot, and it's suddenly like, well, I'm surrounded by 7 other teams. What do I do now? You just got to run around with the first weapon that you find, because at that point you're not fully kitted out. And you're like, this is not how I wanted this to go.
Yeah, we're expecting fast start, slow mid, and then a explosive end. So there's the flight path for you. It's going to come in from the southeast over Military Island at the end. I'm imagining, if people are smart, we'll get a nice spread over the mainland with some option to go to military base. But I can imagine a bunch of people are just going to be thirsty for that early engagement, so we might see a few dropping on Millie.
I mean, it's such a basic thing to say, but I always love military base ending, and I'd love to see some teams at the very least choose to go and land there and drop there, because even if it's not a military base ending and you have to make those rotations upwards, other teams can either close off the bridges, or you're going to have to find a boat, you're going to have to do something, and you see that risk of bottlenecking. But it's like, well, you could have got some really good loot from the military base. But right now, we're actually starting to see a spread already, looking like there's a number of teams who are going to be occupying that kind of north side of the map of the 2 hemispheres. Maybe 1 team or 2 teams potentially going down to Military Island, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the hotspot.
No, I wish it was, though. We see a couple of teams going over around by Mill to Power, but I'm surprised by a bunch of squads up there. It looks like Portsmouth and a set of other squads heading around Severnian shooting range area. No one's really overlapped yet, but if we're looking to the southwest, heading even more westbound above Millie, heading to Ferry Pier, there's a couple of squads who are still branching out down there.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So actually, most of the teams are going to be starting off in the circles. So this is very different to what we saw last week, where actually most of the teams weren't in the first circle. And what that means now is that a lot of these teams can focus on how they're going to loot these compounds, where they're going to be acquiring that stuff, maybe a little bit slower on those initial gunfights than we would have potentially seen, for example, last week, because they're not in such a rush to rotate, but they do need to remain vigilant, because once that circle moves, that's where you're going to see the rush. It's not going to be in this first zone, it's going to be in the second and the third phase, when people start to realize within this greater circle, where is it they need to return to.
So may have an early engagement between 2 squads right now. This is PUBG Mobile KEKW and Oldham Ops sharing territory right now. Just has street dividing them. And if anyone gives off the early information, it could explode. I imagine PUBG Mobile KEKW, being quite a powerful force in this tournament so far, might decide to take the early engagement if they want to.
Well, Oldham Ops, representing Manchester Metropolitan University, they are one of our top 4 teams, if I remember correctly. So this could be quite an... yeah, they're sitting in 4th place. So this could be quite an interesting aggression if they do decide to go in on each other like that. But again, as you say, these could be two teams that know a little bit better than to take that early engage. But then at the same time, you could think, okay, this is an enemy who I want off the board. I want to get rid of them quickly. I want to make my rotation that I'm going to have to make later a little bit easier on myself.
Yeah, we're just moving over. Actually, there's more engagements on the line here at the moment as UKC are getting ready. They've already got one knock. That's Will already getting it with the Car 98. So, entering the building right now. He's got the Tommy gun. Ready to go. It's actually Sleeper who takes the first engagement. Mini Uzi just going to knock him down. Won't get the kill confirmed just yet, but here's the flush. Potentially going to get that confirmed. Elevate will move forward. Avenges his teammate, levels out the score, but that casualty nice and early for that team, not going to be the best, but he's looking for more.
No, that's right. He got completely snuck up upon, and it's very good that Will was there. But again, this is the player that we spoke about who is a professional PUBG Mobile player. You do expect him to be able to, make those Avengers on his, the enemies who managed to down some of his teammates.
Oh, he knows.
Oh, he does know. There we go, going in again. Manages to down TA, but not dead just yet. He's got another player to deal with.
He's just going to heal up right now because he got a lot of attention back. He's going to feed that information over to Osiris, who might be able to get the knock. But he's got a different bit of crossfire coming in on the left-hand side. Savage Sun in a lot of difficulty right now. Cannot move. He's just locked down. His team is bleeding out on the floor. Going for the lean. Does get the knock onto Ben Usher, so that does put the pressure back onto UKC.
I actually really like the positioning here of this team because together they've set up this crossfire onto who they're going up against, and that makes it a lot easier for them to apply that kind of pressure. Even though these are kind of hard gunfights that they are taking here, they've managed to down a number of these members, but has given them sort of the power that they've needed to assert the dominance onto them, and now we're seeing them rotate to actually remain back together as a team and potentially come back around and finish the job off onto a couple of these enemies.
Yeah, some of them are bled out already, but you need to be careful. Will's got 2 down. He's the only man standing right now for his team. So if those knocks come in, he might be playing the rest of the game solo. Good angle to find Simba. Takes out Savage Sun as well. He just needs to get both his teammates up, and he's going to be back in the game. But of course, he has lost Sleeper in the chaos.
Just going to be healing up his teammate here, and now going back to the map to see where everyone is. We're actually seeing quite a bit of spread down here in the southwest region, so it looks like there's not really anybody hanging around on the military island. It looks like there might be one team down there, but most of those teams who did decide to go down to that part of the map have decided to stay on the mainland. They're going to be heading up towards Pochinki, and that's going to give them access to the roads where it'll make them easier to make rotation later if they need to, but we're likely to see I would say quite a few aggressive gunfights down there. It looks like there's at least 4, maybe 5 teams hanging around in that region of the map.
Yeah, it's going to be a case of I'm keeping an eye on the rotation in the southwest. Like you've got Newcastle down there, ECG in the pink, who are going to be heading east towards Farm. It looks like they're on a collision course right now with a squad that's 13. I'm not actually able to get their number. I believe that they're young. I will get the actual name of them in a second. It's just they're difficult when they're all overlaid like this. Arctic have got free reign and Milta Power right now, so that's kind of died down. And you can see in 16 where we just saw the University of Kent players take complete control of that area by knocking out that squad. We're on board with Portsmouth now, who have got a knock onto Somber, it appears, but he's isolated by himself, and his team are not coming in to help him, it looks like.
It's really hard when you're put in that position where one of you ends up going down and there's no one who can really viably come and collect you, whether it's because of a crossfire, it's because of a threat like that. And these are the sorts of situations that, as a squad, you want to be exploiting and taking advantage of to try and get the upper hand onto your enemies who are nearby. Do you want me to just skip him forward here?
Yep, they're just going to be carrying on moving forward. We're on board with Harriet Western Uni, I believe. Was it Harriet Western?
Harriet what?
Harriet what? They're probably going to be angry that I got the university name wrong. It's
I think Harriet Watt's in Scotland.
Yeah,
so
Harriet Watt University.
Say it wrong, it's still probably right.
Yeah, they'll probably be angry regardless anyway. We're seeing Hazard got a knock onto Catfinks from Snakes. That's happening off in the distance right now. So we have got Harriet Watt playing with a 3-man squad right now. So they are at reduced capacity that will limit the engagements they want to choose to take, I'd imagine. But sometimes they'll just be forced upon them. There's another squad in the area off to the south, it looks like, who have a high ground advantage. If they come up and they start seeing this movement around the area, it's going to get quite messy for Harriet Watts.
Yeah, I think that might be the University of West London who are just south of them. Could be wrong, but one thing that Harriet Watt actually are doing here is that we've seen a couple of times is them utilizing those rooftops so well. They're actually looting these buildings, they're getting the high ground, but now taking a look here at Snake Crumpets. That's the best name.
Not sure if I want some snake crumpets.
You sure?
Yeah.
Well, they've decided to go for the vehicle route. I was wondering when we would first start to see these vehicles get utilized, and it actually looks like Crumpets here just trying to catch up with his teammate. Two of them, oh sorry, just him is in the vehicle. It's not that that's a vehicle sign on the other guy, it's that he needs healing.
He needs a lot.
They look so similar.
Yeah, they've actually, that's Cat thinks who got knocked. They haven't actually finished him off yet, so he's going to bleed out, and Snake are going to cut their losses by getting themselves into the circle. Not sure where Fox is, but the circle on the first close is about to end, so phase one's nearly over. Most of the teams are in the area now, just waiting on UOS to get into the region. They're going to have to cut past Snake, but it also looks like they're heading past Young as well. New circle moving fairly central, so no large rotations required from any teams, but it's a nice and easy path by Arctic in the east to walk up. They just might run in, but we've got an engagement right now, and it's that Harriet Watt that we were looking at earlier. Sile just going to get the early flush onto him. Knight looking for some return. Does get one knock, but gets knocked and flushed himself. And Harriet Watt, they got one more member alive who's just going to keep his head down. He cannot take this 1v4 engagement.
And these UWL players just ensuring that they peek those corners so that they can get anyone who was hiding behind them. They evidently knew that they were moving in onto an engagement there, but those are the things that separate you out from the teams who aren't going to do as well, is ensuring that you are taking those correct angles. Here we are seeing Uzi from I think also Harriet Watt. I think Harriet Watt do have two teams in this competition. Yes, they do. And they're just keeping an eye on from the other side of this road. A building across. Not sure if UWL have spotted them yet. I suspect so, just given this kind of position. Yeah, the position that's being taken here, they know that at the very least that there is a chance they're being watched. He's just whipping out that scope there so he can have a look a little bit further afield, but so far has not seen anyone on whom he can land those bullets.
I believe the tournament's being played on third person as well, so there is the added benefit of not necessarily having to scope down to get information if you play it safe. So it makes it a lot harder to spot people inside of buildings because they can lean over the shoulder, look through the window, and they don't have to expose their head to be popped by a sniper looking in on that location.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, you can use the third person peeking. It's OP.
OP, it's op. Well, blue circle still moving in, and this is where we're seeing some of these teams be pressured, especially as you and I have both mentioned, actually, these teams down in the southwest who are all very crowded, but they are being pressured in, and we don't want to see exactly what happened before, but here comes an engagement.
Johnny, nice and prone there, wanted to have the best possible angle. He's been knocked down. Two members have been flushed so far by Johnny. That's the other team from Harriet Watt, so they're not having a great performance in this first game, and it's Tad moving in on that engagement to finish them all off. Harriet Watt, I believe, apart from one member from one squad, have been wiped out of this particular map.
It's going to give Spherix and the rest of his team a chance to loot things up. And again, more vehicles. Now, actually, this is young boys who are sitting last in the standings right now. So, at the very least, they do have some time or some opportunities to get some points, which aren't the very last on the board, but they are...
That should have been a... I think he's trying to actually kill his teammate, maybe. Because that should usually knock them. But I think he's going to go for the res now, try and get him in. It is in the blue zone, so this is very resource intensive to do this, because even if you do get your teammate up, you're still going to commit meds. And if you're looking at what Big Boyka's got right now, he's only got 5 bandages. That's going to really struggle to get him back in the game. He's going to burn through a lot of those resources, even if he can get it back in. I'm more concerned about his teammate. He's just gotten up. He's about to go down yet again, and they're not close to getting into the area. I think this is going to be a fruitless endeavor.
Yeah, that's really what I was looking at. The map up in the top right that you can see, just it's all blue everywhere. And now he's trying to heal his teammate again. It looks, yeah, fruitless is kind of the word I would use too.
But if you look in the bottom left corner, even further out from them, just south of Pachinki, you've got another member from UOS right there who's far out, and it doesn't look like they've got a vehicle, so they may struggle to get into the area as well. Arctic in the southeast, they're mobilized. It's just Akshay who's on foot for the time being, but he should be able to get into the region provided he has enough meds. But teams staying out in the blue zone this long, it's just a huge resource burner. You either lose your life or you lose half of your collective efforts when you've been hoarding and gathering for the first phase of the game.
And when you come across those other teams who are also moving into the next phase, the next circle, you're going to want those resources to battle through them to actually get to the circle in the first place. So it's sort of a cursed position to be in almost. It's like, well, you know, do I use what I have saved up now to at least try and get my foot in the door, or do I save it for the engagements that I'm going to need later on? Now looking like 2 more teams coming up against each other. Here's Osiris, who's just looking to take some potential shots. And there we go. Not yet going to down anyone, but he's actually going to be downed himself in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Usher is holding an angle right now. He can protect the engagement coming in to try and go for that flush on KEKW. This is Kent going up against PUBG Mobile KEKW. He's just holding. He's missed the window of opportunity to capitalize on it, so they are going to be able to get the flush uncontested. He's baited by his own teammate right now. He's trying to take down Firecracker from afar. As Will hoping to carry his team up the rankings. He's not going to be able to do it. He's cutting his losses. Both teammates down on their knees right now. He's the only person at full HP, and this is going to be so dire for him to defend.
This is the second time we've actually seen Will take this further back position from the rest of his team and try and cover their flanks, but right now he's just a little bit alone and doesn't really want to go up against all of them at once. So that means we're seeing KEKW start to move in. They're deciding they want to be aggressive. This is the team who, they have plenty of experience on PUBG. Their game sense is completely up to scratch. So they're feeling confident about moving on in and applying that engagement.
So this is a perfect example of strategy against mechanics. Will, on any other day, would best them in 1v1 showdowns. But the knowledge coming in from PUBG Mobile KEKW shows that they know what they're supposed to be doing. Will, if he can land this nade, it could absolutely demolish KEKW, provided it's in the right spot. Deals some damage. He knows he's got a connection there, but he's unable to find it. Gonna have to send the second one in. They're still healing up. They might not be able to cover this from this one, and he can turn his engagement around in his favor. Didn't go through the window that time, unfortunately. Hazard's now full health. He can tank the next grenade and get Atomical up.
And here's the thing, the guys of KEKW, they know that these nades are going to be coming in, and it's probably not going to stop anytime soon. There we go. Player goes down. Will knows that he's got what he wants now, and now he's put this last player has a hit in a really difficult position because he is low health. In comes another nade. Is it going to be enough to bring him down?
He's got himself to full health in time, thankfully. But look at the angle being held from Firecracker on the side. He's dropped down now, getting out of this one. Will's able to find a member of this team by himself in a solo situation. Unfortunately, wasn't fast enough to be able to sort them out. You can see Cheers Love holding the angle, and Hazard, they're basically playing like Spacekeeper right now. Or Gatekeeper more accurately. They're not letting Will out. Will's trying to have to take shots against them to break away this defense, this chokehold, so he can move on and try and progress further up the positional rankings for his team.
That is what they're going to be looking for. They're obviously doing pretty well as far as standings go, but you need to try and desperately scrape up those points where you can get them. We, of course, see where the next circle is going to be. And it looks like there are a number of teams, 3 teams sitting there in the center-ish of this circle, and with a big road going down the middle of it as well. That's kind of interesting because it sort of separates you. You've got to pick one side or the other.
Casey just on mark right now. He's scoped in on a squad. This is a 2-man operation right now as Akshay has been dropped to the ground. So that was actually the last member from Arctic, so that's another squad remaining. We've now dropped a fair amount of our teams. We've only got 10 squads remaining. And UWL, Sile, and the rest of his squad, they're doing quite well right now. They've got 5 kills to their names, so they're guaranteed 5 points plus their placement. And they're one of the few squads that still have all 4 members alive right now. So we're looking to them to walk away with a sizable bank from Erangel.
Definitely highly beneficial, but out comes more gunfire. Seeing Itty here up on the rooftop as the rest of his team start to move on in. They're really just going to be chasing down their enemy here. They're not holding back in sending in the gunfire, but not yet being able to connect.
They're not holding back, but their accuracy is, unfortunately. It's holding them back, unable to knock them down.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, someone has to at some point, you know. Will actually finding another shot in this engagement right now, so he's finished off another member of that squad, and there's still 2 remaining, so he's going to have to relocate. That's eased the pressure for him to try and escape out here, and the vehicle's going to be the way he does it. Doesn't have to move that much, because he does have control in a central location of this next circle. Just making sure that he's clearing out anyone who has the information of where he is. Firecracker looking on the rooftop, but in the wrong direction, takes a few bullets just to give him a nice, gentle reminder of where he should be paying his attention.
I mean, one of the interesting things about this part of the game is it's not just about getting those kills in for yourself, but it's also about alerting other teams to where enemies may be positioned. So if he can get some damage in there onto KEKW, even if he doesn't finish off those kills, there will be another team nearby because the circle is small enough.
There's the M4 from Siles getting another drop onto Spherix. We're going to take another look at the map just to remind you as everyone has found a way into this next circle. Most of the teams playing the edge right now as Ops are going to run into some difficulties. They're going to have a clash against another squad to take control of that north part section of the new circle. US actually just dropping down right now. It's only 2 of them remaining in the northeast. I believe they're snaking it as well. They're not taking any chances, going prone, trying to move around the map. And I think a lot of these teams are going to try and play this one safe and go for those placements rather than engagements, especially when you don't necessarily have the mechanical skill that some of the other squads have.
I think it probably became very obvious to a lot of these teams after last week that going for those placement points is really where the money's at. And there are always going to be those teams that will have mechanical skill. You can't change your mechanical skill in the space of a week, but you can learn to play smarter. Now, Will is looking like he's trying to take these extra shots on the UWL guys. Now, these are the guys who are sitting in first place right now. So if he can take these off the board, that massively increases his and his team's chances. But there are enemies to all sides, and in such an open area, it looks like they will be much easier targets. Down he jumps from the building, hoping to get a better angle and see if he can catch any of this prey.
Yeah, he just needs to be very conscious, though. He's got next door neighbors right now, but it's UOS taking a spray down onto Ops. So Ali's been knocked down to his knees right now. It's 2 out of 4 members remaining for this particular squad. Shots being fired in return. So close to going down. He will just get himself into a prone with a chance to heal up. Nado crawling away. I think Hazard can go in with the execute on the pan right now. But I think he's just going to keep an eye on it. I don't think he knows where he is. There you go. Just expired. The flush came in by timer. Resources going to be fed back to him. Will down in prone right now, taking an engagement against Portsmouth. He's dealt with 1, but he's got 3 more to cut through. And they're so open. They're so exposed. The terrain works in Will's favor so much. He's going to get that flush, racking up his kill count and trying to pull his team up the leaderboard.
This is the sort of situation you imagine see on Miramar, where you have that terrain play being so key, but instead playing it here on Erangel.
Just 1 more remaining. He's going to take the shots behind the tree.
Just down at the bottom of the rock, applying that bandage, making sure he's all healed up. But all he needs to do is land this last nade here, and there'll be another kill point on the board.
Needs to land the nade, but the circle's coming in as well. He has the positional advantage. And he's going to finish them all off. The grenade damage was enough, and the player didn't even react to it. But right behind him now is Ops, and they've got the high ground on him. It's going to be so difficult to get here safely. But Will's paying them the peace of mind. He's playing around the terrain. He's keeping those sight lines down. But Ops are still in waiting regardless of what happens.
Well, that's the thing. When you're a professional in this game, you will know all of the best terrain to play around. You'll know all of the best trees, the best bits of grass. Of course, in this part of the map, you do have to be aware that if you've got to lie prone in a bit of grass, you might as well lie prone in the best bit of grass. But, well, am I wrong?
Well, yeah, you know, everyone can pick a patch of grass, but it's always greener on the other side. So you need to make sure that you're not losing perspective.
So profound, Trid.
I know, I'm so wise.
So many teams up in the north part of this circle that it actually makes UWL look kind of safe as far as things go. It makes them look like they're not going to be a priority. But now we're seeing DPS take this house, and in a small circle like this where there's a lot of open space, you want to be the team in the building. Yeah,
Will is playing edge right now around the terrain. Tad, Toxic will go down. I believe that's the last member for that team potentially, so a little bit of difficulty posed for them going out in 6th place. But Ops have control of the house right on the edge right now. There's no cover in center circle, so it's going to get manic when the next phase pops and when the circle starts moving in. Vehicles, if you still got them alive and not destroyed them, going to need the cover. Nice attempt at the shot there by Itba, but it won't connect. So he's going to have to reload. Cable bringing in another one of those vehicles. Like I said, going to be so important about setting up cover in the next circle, especially when you don't have control of real estate on top of that house.
It's especially difficult with the vehicle because everyone's going to be able to see it. You are at a risk of essentially being blown up. Will's got the smoke on his side to try and land his shots, but it's not going to be enough. Although he proved a valiant effort, now just the remaining teams are going to be the ones fighting it out for the end of this map. No more of that professional PMCO guy being a thorn in our sides. We can just focus on one another, and they can use the manpower of all of their teams, all the members remaining in each of them, to have a go at each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him, and Cable's going to be knocked down there by Spherix. So it's going to be Tad still in this game. Not to be deterred by one of the members going out, spraying down in behind the shrubbery just to try and get the knock and stop the res, but that cover's there. He's blind firing into the vehicle. Itty found cheer loves from Keck W. And Tad is running with, Tad Spherix is with Toxic still. It's Itty going to have to heal up. Itba still in the house. They believe they're going to be safe in that next circle phase, but it's the phase after that where they may need to completely relocate.
Well, right now, a little bit more quiet here, and it's going to be a welcome respite here for UWL. That could give them a chance to try and land some shots. They're so aware of this house up here. That really is the prime place to be right now, because it's so impossible to really make any kind of a movement or rotation. There's not really anywhere to hide, and you're always going to have those kings up in the castle sitting there. Spherix here is trying to run up the edge of the circle where he's a little bit less conspicuous.
Yeah, he's turned the angle, and Firecracker got the line of sight on him, so already ahead in the early engagement. Going to come through, but the spray from Spherix is too good. And Firecracker going to be removed from the map, so this two-man squad goes into the top 3.
That was great there for Spherix, as he was in the disadvantageous
Saint,
position.
what are you doing? Don't do it, man.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, no, he's actually using it as cover as well as getting the equipment out of it. So this is actually going to be quite useful for them, because the bullets aren't going to go through the crate. So they've just extended this cover in the center of the circle, which is going to be very useful for them, considering they're just on edge of the next phase. So that real estate that's up there, they're going to have to cross through UWL, who are arguably in a better position. The only drawback is that they're shooting uphill against Ops.
Oh, how the turns table.
Ah, yes. Grenades going out by Saint. They have a rough idea of where Tad is, specifically Spherix. But they're controlling both sides of the next circle. So they're in a good spot here to try and clinch out a top 2 finish and let one of these two squads destroy themselves. Itty doing a bit of snaking, getting in a better position away from the building, while Itba holds the angle to see if anyone goes aggressive.
Yeah, I have to say, DPS have been somewhat impressive in these last couple of phases, where you're seeing them utilize the terrain and what they have around them. So much gunfire going on around them, though, and they are being engaged upon. UWL are going to be moving in. Cable is so far forward.
He's going for the engagement against Itty. Itba is already down, so the spray is there. That's going to be UWL taking out Ops. Now it just comes down to Tad. Toxic has the angle with the rifle, and Cable's already on his knees. He's snaked his way into this next circle. Atom's also doing the same right now. Clear sight, going to get the tag. Not going to finish him off yet, but it's giving him pause for thought. There's the knock on the Cable again, putting UWL down to 3 members and equalizing the playing field a little bit more.
I said earlier how Will was really the thorn in people's side, but now it's looking like Toxic is, but things turning back around on him. He is going to so far be getting away with his life, but he will be falling there to Sile, and that gives UWL another day to live.
It's a 2v1 right now, so Saint and Sile are alive. Cable's been res back up, making it a 3v1 onto Spherix. Toxic is downed. Spherix has the angle. If UWL show themselves too early, they might go down to Spherix, who's used that smoke just to cut off one of the sight lines. Toxic is going to be flushed out. They know where he is. Guarantee both these teams have a top 2 finish. He's going to need a miracle from Spherix to pull out the first place.
Going to be looking to get these one-shot, one-kills, but it doesn't work out for him. Match ends, and UWL able to take that first place. And for all those teams going up against them, knowing that these guys are sat in first place, it's going to make life a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it's week 2 as well, so they've already picked themselves up a bunch of kills there. We'll get, obviously, the scoreboard updated after the break, but we know 20 points minimum. I believe I saw 10 kills on a couple of phases ago on them. So they're looking at walking away with 30-ish plus
hefty
points.
amount.
Yeah, from game number 1 alone. We still have 3 more games to come after the fact. So great position to start off. It's only week 2. There's a couple more weeks of competition. UWL, I expect to definitely be up there in the rankings when we close out.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to remember that not only does the first place finisher of this whole competition get that, cash prize, they also get a slot in the PMCO full split. And that's huge. That suddenly makes these guys professional players.
Yeah, it all fits together in almost an effective path
They'll
to
see
pro.
Will again.
Yeah, we'll see Will again. They'll go up against him under different circumstances, but it all kind of fits together in a PUBG Mobile effective path to pro that's been laid out for this year, and that's where they're going to fit into it. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to giving you map number 2. Don't go anywhere.
Stay alive and be the one. PUBG Mobile. Play free now.
Welcome back, everyone. We just had Erangel played out in our 4 maps of the night. We're going to be moving on to Miramar very shortly. We've got a couple of housekeeping to do. Well, a couple of housekeeping?
A couple of housekeeping.
Bit of housekeeping to
2
do.
housekeeping, please.
Well, housekeeping number 1. If you want to keep up with the action, you can go ahead on Twitter and follow @NSE.GG. Sorry, not .gg. And if you can also check out the website, which is NSE.GG. They'll have all the information about the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. Second bit of housekeeping. Let's take a look at the standings. Hopefully they're ready for us to have a look at and see how they've been changed over. UWL, the first university team to pick up 2 chicken dinners in this competition.
And all those teams who left at the end of last week without even one are gonna be fairly frustrated because, as we said at the beginning of the broadcast, Trid, the skew of points was a little bit top heavy, and as we move on from the first week, this is when you're going to be looking for those other teams to try and balance it out, and so far hasn't gone that way.
Not at all right now. So they have jumped up into first place, UWL. PUBG Mobile W got a sizable amount of place points, but also it's more about the kill points. They kind of leveled out a little bit. Everyone's sitting in that 34, 35, 33 category right now in that top 4. They're probably the most competitive teams we're going to have. And it's UWL pulling away with map number 1, which is always good to see. Moving further down the leaderboard, a bunch of teams who haven't really found the placement they need, but there's a few teams who are actually in the lead with kills, or maybe being kept up with kills right now. I'm looking at Strathclyde Strikers, who've got themselves in a good position. 16 kills against the 3 of Johnny and Friends. Johnny and Friends just picking up a sizable amount of points just from placement, which is keeping just in contention. But, you know, when you move further down to even people like Young Boys, they need to get on the board. Kills, placement, something, because 6 points after 5 maps played. Pretty dire. They're
not really showing up. I think actually, on the contrary to what you were saying about you know, these certain teams who have a lot of kills, not necessarily as good with placements, my eyes right now are on Heriot Watt Uni, who are doing fairly well on placements and not so much on kills, because as we move into Miramar, this could be a map where we actually see them shine a little bit.
Yeah, they can just hide. There's more space to just blend in with the terrain and make sure they're not spotted and play for placement.
There is that. You know, Miramar, you do have these open spaces where you do need to utilize that space a bit better, but that's kind of exactly it. It's not so much that I'm thinking, okay, yeah, they're going to get all those kills while they're sat at the top of the hill. It's maybe they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be a little bit better at actually picking where to situate themselves and playing off the back of that, because okay, sure, yeah, you don't have to be the ultimate fragging team to be able to put yourself in a positional advantage where you are able to kind of prevent other teams from being able to get those kills and take them for yourself. So they're not, you know, they're kind of middle of the board, but I think that's one of the teams that you want to be looking at and being like, okay, that's a team that could have potential to move up the standings a little bit after this game.
Well, we're going to be jumping into Miramar very quickly. Obviously, map sizes comparable to Erangel. There's a lot more terrain to hide behind, very open spaces, as Gio's already alluded to. In terms of loot locations, most of it's going to be centered around this middle section, around Los Leones. There's a lot of people coming in, same with San Martin. But on the western side, there's a lot of loot locations that run parallel to that edge or boundary wall that's created by the terrain, where you can commit someone to the left-hand side, have relatively safe looting. It just takes you slightly longer, and you're going to have to cover more location. But that's good enough for one team, and it will give you an early passive start to the game.
That boundary that you mentioned is actually really irritating, especially if the circle pushes up towards there, because you can find yourself really backed up if that does happen. And that's why you often see a lot of teams, they move down towards where like Valdemar is, for example, because if you're down there, you have those roads going off both up to the northwest, but also along to the southeast, and that gives you a really good opportunity to move around the map as and when. But it looks like a lot of these teams aren't necessarily going to be heading down towards the south, just a couple of them who are still remaining in the plane right now, potentially going down for the island or just gonna cling to the south coast. But it actually looks like most people are putting their eggs in the basket of the north side of the map.
For now, and that could prove to be detrimental to them should the circle hard shift south and maybe center around Los Leones, but they will have time to move in. We're on board with Will once again. Man, we're probably going to end up keep going back to quite a lot, because he always seems to bring explosive action when he's playing, especially when he's trying to hard carry his team.
Yeah, we like him now because he just tweeted about us.
Yeah, that's true as well. You know. We do exist. We do have social medias, but we're not here to plug them. You can figure it out. Mind you, they did just come up as we come back.
Yeah, they're on
break.
the lower third. You
That's
look when
fine.
you're supposed to look.
That's fine. I don't have to look at that. That's for you to enjoy, not me. As Opsnado also moving around and getting that early loot. Not much at the disposal right now. But they're just going to be in a relative area. I'd love to take another look at the map just to see where everyone's kind of finalized. And you can see there the area going to be up into the north. So good decision to back the north because now they're not going to have to really rotate in. It's more about what these teams in the south who are going to have to make that rotation, how are they going to best utilize the untapped loot potential of the area between where they are now and when they can get into circle.
Well, you kind of actually hit on the point there because I was about to say I'm really interested in these teams who are down towards Los Leones because it's such a huge compound. There's so much loot down there. They're all going to be fighting amongst themselves and then looking to make that rotate upwards that I think we could almost see like a microcosm of aggression go on between these teams before they even come anywhere near to the other teams who are already situated in the circle area.
Well, Johnny, not a player, the team, nearby to another squad right now. Only one member, so if anyone reveals the location, it could pop off quite quickly, especially when it's a 4v1 engagement. But reinforcements are coming in from over the ridge. I think Sonar Mirza, he does actually know what's going on right now, so he's trying to call for reinforcements to potentially fight off this squad, but it looks like Johnny are already retreating up to the north.
You just definitely don't want to be caught in any of those lines of sight. It's a little bit of a risky area. Yes, there are all those pillars that you can hide behind, but he's really just making his own way across. But as you say, it doesn't matter too much. The entire team of Johnny are just making a rotation by foot, moving along their own space and not worrying too much about any enemies who may be nearby. Now, just taking a look at those at UCL. Hearing some early gunfights, or just gunfire, I should say. Doesn't really sound like it's being. Doesn't really sound like it's being responded to.
Just because the gun's being fired doesn't mean there's any kind of fight. Sometimes you gotta.
You gotta assert dominance, right?
You gotta assert dominance. Sometimes you gotta have an office pop.
Of course.
Probably.
You gotta test it out. I found this gun on the floor. I gotta make sure it actually shoots.
The other guy's reference just went over your head, apparently.
Yeah, I have no idea what you referenced.
Really good film. Probably consider watching it.
I don't really watch films.
Well, let's focus on watching this then instead. we both agree about that one. It's UWL now on the approach into this area. We did see, I believe, KEKW close to them. I just need to see if they are nearby. But I think they're on opposite ends. Yeah, so they're just to the north right now of UWL, already looting out this particular area. So UWL may find this, not as much loot as they think they're going to find as they move into this territory.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's that prolific as far as loot goes. But I mean, it's still early on in the round. Circle hasn't closed in, but as you say, these two teams are very close to one another. And again, we sort of had this similarly in the last round where we had two of those kind of top teams very close to one another. I don't remember if it was these two or if it was University of Kent.
It was KEKW and Kent were having a very extended engagement on Erangel.
And it's very early on, and it's kind of nerve-wracking when you have those two very top of the leaderboard teams come against each other so early on in the round. But right now, they are all facing different directions. It looks like they're kind of just leaving each other alone just for now. We could see an engagement after they've become sure that they've picked up everything they want. But for now, there's none of that early aggression that you could potentially see from other teams.
So yeah, they're just fighting off to the south of Los Leones. And UWL may have made a mistake there by giving away the information they are there by firing off a few shots. So KEKW are going to have the information they are not alone, which will put them on alert if they weren't already. Looking at the teams over to the southwest who still need to rotate up. Arctic working as that two-man squad. Need to find their way in there, but most of the other squads are quite happy. See a large contingency of people around by the El Pozo area and Graveyard as well. If you're looking at
that accent.
El Pozo. It wasn't really an accent. It's just trying to pronounce
it. Yeah, but
it.
you spread it into when you said area afterwards. You're like area.
Area. No, it's El Pozo. It's technically correct pronunciation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Spanish people, but El Pozo with the Z.
I don't speak
oh, is it one of the
Spanish,
one of the 6 languages you don't speak?
I don't speak 6 languages. I wish. That would be really cool.
You try to. I think you try to speak 6 languages, don't you?
I don't think I do. Unless you count Essex as one, then maybe.
Yeah, that's an accent in and of itself.
Yeah.
So Lost Leones engagement has split off. KEKW have gone to the north. UWL going to spend a little bit longer out in the outer reaches to maximize their loot time. There's UCL taking an engagement against Ops. NATO already tagged a few times, as has been Clade, but they're disengaging behind cover to try and stim back up.
And again, I mean, you kind of mentioned it when we were looking at the map, but no one's really in any rush right now. And, you know, there's definitely in other maps, I think especially when we move into Sandhawk, by this point, you're going to already have one, maybe a few entire squads dead. And this is what happens when you're on these larger maps. But it's still kind of interesting knowing that the circle is sufficiently far north, and we have teams down in not just Los Leones, but also down in Valdemar.
They're trying to find a way through these buildings right now. It looks like the good sightlines coming in from Ops. They are holding multiple angles to get that crossfire in and pin UCL into this building. If they're not careful, they will have to be working on a timer, because eventually, as you can see in the top right, the circle will catch them and they will have to relocate. So the longer they're here, the harder it becomes. Itty getting the first down onto Ghost with a headshot. Nano under pressure as well. Now they can get Ghost back up relatively safely. But Ops NATO, he knows they've got one knocked, so he's going to move into position for the grenade. Drops down Clade as well. This is dire for UCL. That one nade in the top window could seal off multiple members, but he's trying to get up Clade at the same time as well, while Ali enters the building for the breach.
Yeah, this is incredibly aggressive, moving in together now as a duo. They just want to rush on in before they have any time to heal them up. Straight away, down goes Clade and Nano as well. So pretty much all of UCL going down very early there. Just a little bit of tactical crouching.
Tactical crouching, a little bit of looting as well.
A little bit of looting.
It's
they look about the same.
Yeah, they do. It's very deceiving. But so Ops right there, very clinical. That's probably like a textbook breach of a building right there. They get a couple of knocks, apply the pressure, know that they're going to be relatively uncontested and have the man advantage, but they also can apply pressure with the grenades and the utility they have to get those guaranteed flushes and make the fight that much easier. The fight was won when the grenades started being yeeted through the windows. They just had to go up there as a cursor, almost paying them, not a king, just, what's it when you, I've lost my words. It's when you, like, you're trying to be polite, right? You're just...
Courtesy.
Courtesy, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Just
I knew what the word was. I just wanted to see you
let me
flounder
struggle.
a bit.
Yeah,
I really just wanted to...
That's fine. So
I wanted
they
to
could
watch
pay
that.
them the courtesy of being able to go up there and finish them off with a bullet instead. Tad out of the region, but I think they're one of the more competent teams we have here. So I think they've got a plan in place to get into that circle and not die out to the blue as some of the teams in this tournament seem to do so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the teams are sitting in vehicles right now, the ones that are at least outside of the circle. So they should mostly all be moving up. I don't think there's a huge threat of losing teams to the blue just yet. But right now we are seeing Hazard from the University of Southampton looking to get in some early damage onto this team. It's actually young boys, and again, there's this team who have really been struggling. They haven't been getting kills. They certainly haven't been getting placements. Or was it they got like 6 points?
6 points, yeah.
6 points. And, you know, you'd think, okay, they've got like a little mini compound, they should be mostly safe, but no, if there's a guy who's on the other side of the map, or not the other side of the map, but who can see straight down his scope onto so many members as you're running out just like that, and he can get that key damage on, and they know that you're going to be hindered by the fact that you're healing up a teammate, oh, it just makes you so vulnerable. Yeah,
Hazard is he's trying his luck with a few of these shots. I mean, the first one was good. The second one, trying to catch him in mobile, while they're mobilizing themselves, a little bit harder. Arctic getting involved in the fight as well. A member of Young getting knocked off from the side. Don't know where those bullets are coming in from, but somehow having an impact on this fight separate from University of Southampton.
Not the best position to be in, but I guess if you're easy prey, that's 4 points that you could pick up just by picking off like the easiest squad, but we're actually seeing other members from other teams go down. There's Big Boyka from Young going down there, so now they are sitting with one member down.
And here's the angle.
Is it Hazy?
Hazy. I'm going to go with Hazy.
Okay, we'll go with Hazy.
Hazy's holding off the angle, so this is that member of Arctic that was able to apply pressure to Young as well in this engagement, almost trying third party it. Unfortunately, he's not going to pick up any of the points right now because URS are able to apply the pressure and they are more dominant in numbers. Hazy also operating by himself, so any points he can pick up is going to be an absolute boon to his personal efforts.
What's actually nice about his positioning is he's in a position where US don't have a direct line of sight onto him. So that does make him safe for now. But of course, if he is able to help bring down these members of Young, then US are going to want to turn on someone. And so he wants to be in this position where he can get away, isn't directly going to be affected by that, but can potentially, as you say, pick up these points from these essentially easy kills.
If he doesn't act fast, though, the circle will take those points away from him. So he actually did pick up the kill onto young DJ Diddy. So he was the one who got that knock when he went in for the res based off of UOS's efforts. So he is being a bit of a vulture right now. If he can get a couple of tags onto members of Young who are trying to evade the blue, he might end up walking away with some more points. But UOS are in the area and Tad are right behind as well. He's in a very difficult place to be as a solo player.
Yeah, seeing Tad move like that, that's kind of interesting because it does mean now that Hazy is going to be surrounded from those angles. But Tad, we saw they're in vehicles. They might not want to be stopping off.
Beautiful.
There's a lovely shot onto Goza from Hazard. So that isn't going to be going to Hazy. These is potentially going to be a point going over here to UOS.
Yeah, Jinkia going to walk away with that one from UOS. Still a member of Young out in the region. Now, Arctic is turning his gunfire over to UOS, who are slightly exposed from the position they're in right now. He doesn't want to draw too much attention. He will lose out on this engagement, and he has got Tad right behind him. He's going to notify a lot of teams who want the fine 1-point bounty on his head.
Is Hazy going to be going down here is the question. So far, not being able to get on that damage is Popcorn, but he is going to be holding this angle, and he knows that Hazy is getting into this vehicle. That could make him a little bit easier as bait, but so far, not going to have any luck.
Knocks him down to about 50% HP, and Toxic is going for the reposition, but this is Miramar all over. It's the terrain blocking the line of sight. He's going to take an attempt with the spray, won't find any connection. Hazy is out of there.
When you're playing with a weapon that is that short range, you're unlikely to be able to get that, and so Hazy, as you say, does live to...
It's ambitious to do it with the micro Uzi.
Yeah, yeah. You know, if it had worked, it would have been hilarious, and it would have been absolute BM. But seeing the next circle already here on the board, so actually it's in a very... What's the word? I don't want to say populated because there's not really very many people who live around here, but there is that sort of large compound right in the center. And we've spoken about it before, but on Miramar, you do always run the risk of having the final circles be around some just random open area and make it very open, very dangerous.
Oh no, here comes the crash from KEKW. Cheers Love trying to move away. Anatomical have to play it close to the building to try and cut down these sight lines, but NATO's already in position to capitalize on that one. Itty blowing up the vehicle of Cheers Love. That's so dire for KEKW, and the flush will come in for Atomical as well. So Ops racking up their kill count and mortally wounding another one of these top squads.
Well, Firecracker still sitting over here, looking like he's trying to just prepare to be able to hold out his own as he gets inevitably engaged on, not happening just yet. In the kill feed, we are seeing a number of people from various teams go down, looking like ECG have pretty much entirely fallen.
I'm more interested in this UWL UOS engagement right now. Trading blows all the time. I think UWL have actually wiped out most of UOS. Yeah, they've got the actual complete flush on University of Southampton. So UWL going to recover from this one. They can get Sile back up quite easily. They're going to use the smoke for the extra cover. But that's a clean team kill coming in for UWL.
After the last map, and not even just last map, but last week, it's kind of what we come to expect at this point. This has become one of, if not the most interesting team to watch in this competition because they're just so clean. They're clean with their teamwork, and I think that's what's nice about it is there's always someone there who is able to go and pick up someone who's fallen. They always have utility that they use in a very good way in order to achieve that, and they're covering all these different ranges as well, so you don't have these issues where someone ends up left with a weapon where it's not entirely useful in the situation that they find themselves in. And now they're just sitting on the edge of the next circle that will be coming in, and so they won't be in any rush to rotate, and instead should be able to attempt to get some damage onto the teams that are now going to start to rotate in themselves, and this should leave UWL, at least for now, in a fairly good position.
And it's as you highlighted earlier, Gio, is that when we're closing in on this particular circle, we are moving on to quite a congested and built up area. It's not open terrain, it's going to be buildings. Now, there can be a few mind games when you get down to the final circle with, okay, I'm in a building, I'm safe, but I have to jump out of a window. There's only one spot I can actually leave this building from, and they may be open, but they're in cover, and they can keep an eye on that window, because you have to balance up the safety of cover versus the different approaches you can take to move around the map. Tal taking a few shots at the members of Johnny, also getting some back in return. He's moved to a better position, but the buggy will see him through to get him out of danger for now.
These members of Johnny, both Simba and Com, are sitting at kind of low health. I mean, especially Com, so that is going to make him an easy target. Up here, we have Harriet Watt sitting up on the hill and having this excellent line of sight down onto what's going on below. If they can get these snipes, then this could be some great points on the board for them.
Do have to maximize the range of their weapons a little bit there, so you can forgive him for not nailing the shots. Playzone will take out Simba. He was one of the ones who was incredibly low, so the blue will just claim him. UWL Saint actually finish off Ops as well. So they're taking out the top dogs right now. They are not dealing with the middle of the pack teams, the lower of the pack teams. They're taking on the competitors that are right behind him. So they're going to heal up, but they're looking for more from this engagement with Ops. If they can knock them out, they're just going to increase that lead in first place, even if they don't take the chicken dinner from this particular map.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, because the other thing you have to remember is also the confidence that they're gaining from knowing that they can go against these other teams, these top teams. That's going to be huge for UWL, because these other teams around them are going to be fearing them. And Ali from Ops is going to be one of the players who are feeling that way, especially given that he's just lost another teammate in Nado, as we did see in the kill feed, and there's only 3 of them remaining going up against this terrifying team.
They're just disabling the vehicles there just to make sure they can't be stolen by UWL. And also they're going to be making sure that if they try to exit fast, they won't get anything. Atom has found Itty, so that's 2 members active for Ops right now. And UWL, they may be making the same aggressive move that Ops made on a squad earlier on Keck W when they took them out. So Cable already on the offensive, getting close to the building, shutting down the sight lines, and we'll find a route of ingress. Might have to pop the smoke just to guarantee he can get into there uncontested. He's going to throw that in now, and that's going to cue Atom to go in. They're crashing into the building. Ali's been found out by Atom already. The flush is complete. And now they just need to find the 2 remaining members who are upstairs. They're going to be on low HP right now. Atom will get knocked down. No flush given. He immediately gets into cover. Ippa been taken out. And there's only 1 man remaining for Ops, and it's Itty, who then gets sprayed down. The flush has come in, and UWL have a compound to recover.
I absolutely love the pinch that they set up there, coming in from different angles, ensuring that there was damage and pressure from every single different direction, and that really allowed Ops to fall very swiftly and very decisively. Circle is reducing, and this is where we're starting to see a lot more aggression. Will, our favorite player, of course, as we've spoken about a lot, dealing in damage here onto Portsmouth, who are really just left out to dry in the open. None of them are really available to go and heal each other, so it looks like that's pretty much going to be the end of that squad.
Yeah, that's really good work there by the squad from Kent. Will holding down the middle, taking cover and hiding in the terrain. His teammates obviously taking the initial engagement. It does free up a lot of pressure for him to just sneak in, get the sight lines and finish them off efficiently with his better mechanics without having to deal with the pressure of taking the firefight. He can just spray down essentially targets.
Now, you can see Tad. They've all got this building over here, but their position is known to snakes. So likely to see them engaging in a gunfight across the long range, unless they decide that they want to go in all aggressively. They are getting into this vehicle. Are you going to get into all the same vehicle? Are you really going to do that? They
have to relocate, and they are on a timer right now, Gio. They're right next to the blue, and it's starting to move in as it is. So they can't hold this position, and I agree with you. It's uncomfortable to watch it, but it has to happen. Has to happen in this particular instance because they have a lot of ground to cover, and they don't know who's between the blue because they have got quite a far rotation. It's not short for them this time, comparatively to where the circle is, and everyone's trying to move in and get one of these compounds locked down and then pray the circle shifts towards them so they can have a little bit more safety.
It is very true, because especially, I said it earlier, when you have these circles that have major roads that go through them, that's a really risky point. You don't want to be the last team coming in through that road where everyone around you who are occupying buildings can see you and just pick you off very, very easily. So being able to get that early rush into the circle where you're not necessarily going to be the prime target, okay, it's a risk, but you might as well do it while you can.
Great Kobe from Will there. Will get a knock onto one of the members from Johnny. The titular Johnny is still alive, and he's off to the side. You can see him behind that tower. Not in a position to help his teammate, and the blue is actually coming in on comm. So he needs to be quite careful about what he does. He may just go down to the area here. Tad taking the fight against Snake will knock them out as well. Popcorn just can see Cat thinks in his sights. He's got the grenade charged up. He's cooking it up. He's going to launch it actually in the wrong direction. Hazy, the Vulture, strikes again. The solo player from Arctic finding kills where he can. Free, he's managed to scamaz from other teams in this map.
He's a one-man machine. The fact that he's been able to last this long, especially when other squads have fallen, although I say that completely caster, and he falls down. But he did last quite a long time. The gunfight still continuing on as Cat thinks does fall, and Knight trying to get in those shots onto the members of Tad.
This is beautiful for KEKW if you look where the new circle is. They've got a compound right in it, and they're going to let all of these teams fight it out as they try and emerge in. That circle is going to start pressing in about 30 seconds and forcing all these teams to rotate into an area that really only Kent and KEKW have control of. Atom is actually, with the rest of the UWL boys, going to be sharing a building with a member from ECG. And I believe that's a member from Newcastle University, so they have to be careful and conscious of who's sharing that property, because it can go south if you don't know someone's hiding in that building and they pop out just like that. And they're going to take the spray down. Benji knocks UWL safe but will not get the flush. That is so big for UWL to not fall prey to that.
Hugely aggressive there, and the fact that UWL, they were maybe not necessarily prepared, but they were able to turn things around, keep themselves up. That is definitely a massive comment on their resilience, on their ability in this game, as if we haven't already seen it already. Will is going to be looking out for them, though. He knows that this is the team that they're going up against. This is the team that he needs to beat, trying to get that headshot, but doesn't quite land it onto Atom, although he does bring his health down quite a bit. There's the smoke, which could help him a little bit, but so far haven't been able to get that key kill.
Two members down for Kent right now. Cable returning with the gunfire. Atom also hitting the shot. It's not looking good, but Cable and the rest of UWL actually taking an engagement with Tad at the same time. This southwest corner of the circle, bit of a hotbed for engagements right now. Tad trying to get Omerarian back up as Atom will get Saint on his feet. Popcorn moving in will do the same. So everyone's taking a quick pause. They want to make sure that at full strength, no one wants to risk going down early in an engagement, which could force them out somewhere into the top 5.
Yeah, 18 players remaining alive, and the circle is getting scarily small. And as if we haven't seen enough fights already, we haven't seen these wars occurring across roads between buildings, this is where it's going to get even more so. Osiris just trying to land this shot. He knows there's someone in the smoke, doesn't actually quite land it onto that player. Instead, just going to be preparing themselves, holding steady in this building. The Sile is such low health. Is Atom going to be able to get there in time to do anything? It doesn't look like it. Sile does fall there to Osiris.
Yeah, going to be able to pull it down. There's so much pressure right now because Tad are also fighting UWL while Oversight is being played by UKC. Adam with Cable will have to try and do this as a two-man squad now. Tad are just on the edge of the blue. They need to find a way in. They're on life support right now. They're all dropping down to the blue zone, and look who's here to claim the kills. It's mostly the blue zone, but Firecracker will get away with stealing one from the map itself.
I mean, it was an unfortunate position there for Tad. They had to heal their fellow members of the team, and they just happened to be in an area that was really, really just kind of wide open for anyone who had that line of sight, which Firecracker did. So disappointing for them, but it does reduce the number of people here. Now, University of Kent, they are so close here to these members of UWL. This is going to be a very close fight. Out comes the aggression.
Will's gone down though. Hazard being the one to find him. Knight actually getting the grenade onto Hazard. Cable dropping down Will. Knight will get him back up. So that's Kent still in this one just by Osiris's hand. And Sleeper is also getting the res, but UWL know it. They're going to rush in here, crash into the building, spray down. They will also find the men in the corner, so that's UKC being knocked out. 3 squads remaining, but guess who has the positional control? It is not Johnny, who is somehow still alive in the top 3 right now. It is not UWL, but it's actually Harriet Watt. They have lock on a compound that's directly in what could be our final phase.
Well, this is where the attention is going to now be turned around onto them, especially now that University of Kent are down. Everyone else is going to be looking here at UWL, but so far they've been able to prove that they can hold their own. So attention, as I say, going to be turned here onto Harriet Watt. They're going to be wanting that strong positioning. So far, Uzi's going to be going down. That's not a good start for them as UWL do get that kill.
So it's 2v3. This is really bad. I don't know why you opted for that fight from Harriet Watt. You expose yourself outside of the compound. You lose your numbers advantage you had over UWL. Uzi on his knees right now. It's 666 Knight who has to take the 2v1, but he could be spoiled by Johnny, who's also playing it safe around the corner.
Just trying to peek, see what angles he can get. He doesn't want to be too reckless, as that's something we've seen allowing these people to fall.
Well, that is actually going to be Harriet Watt knocked out. So Johnny, by doing the ultimate coward strat, has found himself into a top 2 finish, which is going to be hugely beneficial to his team. But I don't think if he's playing it like this, he's going to have the ability to win the 2v1 against Cable and Atom, who have just been fragging out this map.
So it's the coward strats. What they always say, you can't rely on it working out for you, and yet it's been working out for Johnny so far. But now he's going to have to face his fears. His fears, the thing of nightmares, UWL sitting at the top of the standings. Are they going to be able to take Miramar? Well, we've seen how aggressive they can be so far, Trid, so I would not be surprised if they decide to just rush in. They know they have the 2 versus 1. Johnny's on his own.
Yeah, Johnny just going to hide. I think he's just waiting right now.
Biding his time.
Biding his time. I don't know what difference it makes. I think he's obviously waiting for an opportunity to try and take this engagement, maybe catch one of UWL off guard somewhere, and then hope to win the 1v1, because otherwise, you know, he must recognize that there's only 2 squads left. Footsteps can be heard. If he gives away information, Cable should be able to find it. The footsteps are a big tell. He's probably feeding that to Atom. They're actually pinstering him right now. They're playing with their food. Johnny gets knocked out. And University of West London, they go ahead and claim a second map of the night. They are just running away with points.
They are on a tear. The fact that UWL are doing so well just leads me to believe that this is going to turn out to be a competition where we have a very, very decisive leader.
Yeah, but then it means there's more to play for in that like top section that's
Oh,
not quite at the 1. So people like Ops, Keck W, and Kent, they can fight out a little bit more for maybe see who gets like the silver and bronze medal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And obviously we've still got 2 maps left. There's always a chance that there could be a different team, different teams who end up taking these next 2 maps. But so far, UWL, they're going to be riding a mental high. And that's going to be really important when going into these next 2 maps.
They're going to play with momentum, but we are going to change gear a little bit. We're going to go for a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you Sanhok, and that's going to really quicken up the pace of these games.
Download and play now. Hey, buddy.
Yo, Mike, are you ready?
Wait. Should I go with the UMP9 or use it?
Sun's out, guns out.
Gear up for summer.
Ready?
Okay. Well,
Ready?
Sorry. I'm late.
Any plans for fall break?
happy graduation! You made it, bro. So proud of you.
Sorry I'm late. What a day.
I hear ya.
Get Come this. On. Hey!
Watch out! Take this,
That's a real battleground.
Are you ready?
Welcome back, everyone. We're over the halfway point of our show. We're jumping into map number 3, which will be Sanhok real quick. I'm Trid, this is Geo, and this is the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship for 2020. That's it.
It is indeed. We have seen our first 2 maps already, and we were hoping for a bit of variety in terms of the standings as we were looking into the future from the beginning of this broadcast. But Trid, that's not really what we've got, is it?
No, University of West London picking up 2 for 2 on chicken dinners so far, and they're racing up the point table right now. They're sitting on 70 place points, 139 for total. But we're looking at the kill counts across the board as well. Ken and KEKW appear to be the fraggers. They're just really struggling to get those chicken dinners to contend with UWL.
It seems to be that they get to a certain point in the game and then they really start to fail. And it's quite impressive with Kent, given that, okay, yes, when we were on our angle, it was really only Will who was left, and that's someone who we expect to last quite a while. But in that last game, actually, a lot of the team was surviving until quite late into the round. And it seems that when they come up to those really close engagements where it gets very aggressive, and you have the kind of titans like UWL who are providing such an omnipotent threat to the rest of the map, let alone the team next to them, that's where they kind of start to fail, and they're not really able to get their way into that top 3 or, top 1, a very key top 1 spot.
Another team I think is quite unfortunate with the teams they're combating in the mid game is Oldham Ops. Like, we saw such a clinical execution of a breach and clear into a building using grenades, able to use the utility, pick up the kills, and the opposing team stood no chance. I feel like if this team could avoid the likes of UWL, KEKW, and Kent for a little bit longer in the match, they'd probably walk away with higher placement points and be able to jump into potentially a 3rd place or a 2nd place, assuming that KEKW and Kent fall short on Sanhok.
Yeah, I mean, Oldham Ops, they came into today, sat in that 4th place position. I think they're still there, which is, it's sort of like, it's great if you can maintain, but you don't want to be the team who maintains. You want to be the team who climbs up, achieves, improves. And that is something that we've not really seen much from them today. They're not, we just haven't seen much from them in the map that really stands out. Even teams who are sat below them, and we're looking at decisions they're making, we're looking at gunfights they're taking, we're looking at things they're doing, and we're like, they're interesting, they're trying, they're really going for it. But with Oldham Ops, it's sort of like they get a certain way and then they sort of drop off the face of the earth. One thing that they have been doing that I have really liked is they've been quite vigilant to take high ground. So,
yes.
and not just a terrain high ground, but taking buildings and sitting on the roof.
And taking the moral high ground as well. They really
Of
are
course.
the utmost of gentlemen.
I'll take your word for it.
But then, also, you got to give a shout out to my boy, Johnny, from Team Johnny. Able to sneak out that 2nd place win. Well, not win. It is a victory for him, ultimately. But 2nd place on Miramar with some excellent...
Very cheeky.
Very cheeky. Very stealthy. And we want to be... want to pay him some credit to what he did and be a little bit optimistic about the strategy. Don't think it will work twice in a row, especially when we move over to Sanhok. I'd be surprised to see Johnny get into that final echelon of teams if they don't frag out, basically. They're going to need to hit the shots.
Yeah. Well, this trajectory of the plane, pretty interesting. We're getting a nice even spread, relatively, anyway. I personally would find it really interesting if the circle was over towards the west side. I always find that West Island very, very fun, because especially if you have teams like UWL right now who are occupying it very early, that gives them an advantage. But then you have a lot of other teams who have to, we say it all the time, make those rotations. But the fun thing about Sanhok is because it is comprised of 3 main islands, this is where you get a lot of boat play, and you get teams who look out for the boat play. And it is going to be teams like KEKW who have the experience.
We asked, I'm going to interrupt you, Gio. We asked so much for Ops to not take early engagements, and it's cost them dearly. Ali and Itba already been removed by Harriet Watts. And they were a top 3 team from Miramar as well. The engagement's still ongoing, but no one walked away from this unscathed. Uzi trying to go for the flush. That's Harriet Watt going out in 16th place just because of an unfortunate hot drop with Ops, who they've lost 2 of their members already. We wanted them to show up big on this map, and they're not going to be able to.
I know. We believed in you.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
But are you disappointed but not surprised?
I'm not surprised, no.
Oh, that's so
That doesn't make it any easier, though.
Well, what I was saying is you get the teams like KEKW who have so much experience in PUBG as a whole, and those are going to be the teams you want to be looking out for to be catching off other teams on their rotations. And then, of course, teams like Oldham Ops who you think you're doing pretty well. You know not to engage too early, and yet that happens. So don't wish too hard, because you'll always be disappointed.
That's just the moral of life, isn't it? Portsmouth Paladins, they're locked into an area. They're also sharing it with TAD, so you need to be conscious of that. They have kind of split it to almost west and east, straight down the middle. But of course, if they encroach too far to give away that information, early engagement will cascade fast. And you saw how detrimental that can be to Ops and Harriet Watt in their own engagement.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about how here on Sanhok, you do kind of expect it to be a bit tighter. It is so much a smaller map, and you have to share those areas of the map with other teams, and that's where it really becomes about aggression. But you still kind of always hope that you're not going to be the team put in that position so early on. Now we're seeing our first circle, almost the entire opposite of what I said that I was wishing for. It is over on the east side, on the mainland. That means we're not going to have any of this intricate play over on the 2 islands. I tried, sorry, it didn't work out. And that means that 4 of our teams who are here on these 2 islands, they're going to be moving on over. But a lot of those teams who are up in the north don't have to be in too much of a rush just yet.
But hey, Johnny are in the boats. They're going up by Camp Charlie right now. They're just crossing over to get into that territory and start looting up. Players actually prefer this kind of circle, though, where it's centered on one island. Benja caught off guard by Will. He's looking for the other members of ECG. We might just have to take the flush and go. But as I was saying, they prefer this main landmass because they don't have that uncertainty of the islands. They know they're not going to have to make a gamble on which place they need to stick. They know it's all going to be on one land and they're not going to be caught off by rivers. Benja now finally getting flushed out by Will. Itty might be walking into an ambush here. Young, they might not be the team to do it. He's trying to go up. A lot of sprayed bullets, but this isn't a mechanically gifted team. So Itty has got a lot of forgiveness with his pathing right now, and he's going to need it when he goes into this 2v4. Nado gets a knock onto Big Boyka. Gemp Grower, I think that is. Gemp Grower getting knocked down. DJ Diddy as well. That's all of them being flushed out. Young. They didn't go out in last place this time, so a slight improvement, but they did get rocked in a 2v4.
Yeah, not that great. And I'm very glad for Itty that he was able to do that. He looked like he was in a little bit of a tough position trying to decide where it was he was going to position. Now having a look at BR, not a team that we've seen all that much of in the last couple of maps, Trid. And then here, KEKW Firecracker. He is a player who we have called out a number of times, been able to get a couple of clutch situations, play those angles very well. That's something that this team have been great at. And again, we've said it before, it's a team that have a lot of experience in the traditional PC version of this game, and so they are going to have that game sense on their side. Hazza is moving on up, but he's going to look to see if he can get sights on, I believe it's BR over in the distance.
It's too late. It's too late for him. KEKW have already got the flush in. They wouldn't even need Hazza on this one. Ports finally taking that engagement. Tad walk into the house, and they make clean work of 2 members. Ports, this 2-2 split not working out for them. Will get the flush on the popcorn, though. That's a good consolation prize. The knock on to Omari, and is Joe K going to move into cover. So that's 1 knock, 1 flush for Ports. They've lost 2 members themselves, and there's a third party getting in on the action as well.
And Tal was trying to look and watch that flank, but he did take a lot of damage in the process. And it just goes to show that TAD are holding their own. And this is a team who were coming into today, didn't really know what to expect all too much, but they have been able to, they have taken these short range fights quite well. And that's something that we haven't seen a lot with the other teams. A lot of the other teams have chosen to be a little bit further back, play long range, play those more traditional kind of mid to long range ARs, for example, or the sniper rifles. But being able to have that ability to play short range on this map especially is going to really work in their favor.
Those audio cues that are being given by the looting right there is feeding into TAD perfectly. They know exactly where they're going to come from. Try and get the early pre-fire from Toxic. They know this building's occupied, and I imagine we're going to start seeing Portsmouth either disengage or start circling to lock them in. Toxic, not to be caught off guard by that trap, will emerge from the building and try and find a way into. He needs to be conscious of the windows right now. He's going to let his buddy sprint ahead as he takes an alternative angle. Oh,
So
Morarian
close.
trying to get the third-person peek, but it's Toxic from the side. Finds out a member from Portsmouth. 2v1, easy cleanup. He'll get flushed out. It's just Tal taking a few shots for Spherix. Not got the aim to pull it off, and that's going to be Tad picking up a squad wipe. 4 kills to their name so far, 12 squads remaining.
There's a pretty big comment on Tad's playstyle, the fact that they chose to make those runouts instead of remaining safely in the building. And that's something that I think will be very beneficial to them and very interesting to watch going forward, because there's going to have to be more teams who want to be able to pull those sorts of things off. But here we're seeing Will getting... Well, he wasn't able to get a kill, but he got a pretty good shot onto that member of ECG who were just over on the hill. I'm really tempted to say the word yonder then. And then I thought
Yonder hill. A little bit.
over yonder on the hill.
Quite formal for a PUBG Mobile broadcast, but there was actually Will there getting the additional flush onto the teams. That's 2 members of ECG he has already. He's just picking these guys off very slowly, almost like Predator. Just very slowly. He's going to hunt them in this jungle and finish them off one by one.
That is, yeah.
Go
Really
on,
something
finish
to-
your thoughts.
No. I'll tell you afterwards. Never mind. So, Will moving on forward now, just getting another look at the map. The blue still yet to move in, but it does look like a lot of those teams have kind of moved. Obviously, a lot of them were already in the circle, but UWL now, they're not on the outside. They're moving in, albeit on the periphery. They like to stick to the edge of the circle. They don't want to have their, flanks available for anybody else. They just like to keep their back to the circle edge, know that no one's really going to be coming in behind them. But there are still a couple of teams over on this southwest island. As you mentioned earlier, Johnny, who kind of went in for a lot of that looting ability down there towards Camp Charlie. But they're all starting to move on up now, and they're very close to Snake as well. And so they could find themselves getting caught in an engagement. But now taking a look at UCL, looking like they're trying to get these shots here onto TA across the map.
Trying to take that engagement with them, but don't know how successful that will be as reinforcements are now coming in. They're going to use the terrain of the cover. They've taken a few shots to UCL. No knocks as of yet. UFO going to be moving over through the smoke just on the back end, and that will get knocked down by TA9. Savage Sun moving around to the side as well. Mercer going to hold the angle as is. They want to try and pinch these guys in. Great angle found onto Clade. We'll get the second knockdown. Pressure being returned, but they've done enough. They now have a 4v2. They can go ham against this one, Gio, and they can clear out another squad.
It looks like they're going to be moving on in, ensuring that they can keep them down. Well, actually, in fact, UCL looking like they actually get the opportunity to start healing everyone up. But this looks like it could be a little bit of an ambush. Once they're up, they're still going to have to face the fact that this line of fire is straight onto them. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. A nade tried to be thrown in, but didn't really do much. Instead, Nano is going to be falling. But HT now will be going down to a nade. And these trades backwards and forwards will be causing problems for both of these squads.
Equal trading with the downs right now. So that grenade proving useful for Nano to relieve some of the pressure. I think it's a little bit of a misplay here from this squad, from Savage Sun and the boys, to not go aggressive on this one. They're going to throw the molly instead. Over the top. A little bit too far, I think. Not able to get the kill. UFO will go down. Now they're healing up inside there. They're keeping eyes on them. Even if they do heal up, Gio, they're going to have so much difficulty to get away from this one. Ghost, thankfully, is in a separate building, so he can hold some crossfire and apply some pressure and maybe stop the aggressive push from coming in. But they've already shown that they're not tempted to go for that themselves.
Well, the problem is, this team they're going up against, they're all up behind this rock. So while he might be able to provide a crossfire, he's got to wait for them to come out their position, or he's got to relinquish his positioning. Not going to happen either way. He is going to be downed himself. And that is where we're starting to see the aggression come in, and UCL will be falling to the ground.
So there's another squad wiped off the map. If you look to the northwest by Tap Mock, that's where that last fight was happening. You've still got Kent in the area who are going to come in just to the east of Paradise Resort. You've got an engagement going on between Johnny and Snake right now. Johnny taking a lot of casualties. I believe they were just wiped out of the game. No, you got Malik actually moving around to the side.
Yeah,
So
there's a
he's
couple of them
fine.
down there.
Yeah, so they're fine for the time being, but they did lose a member, I believe, to Snake, who got him with a nice headshot. They need to be very careful. They're moving into the range of KEKW, who are rotating round to the south. They're on a collision course right now.
Yeah, they're sort of trapped between these walls of other teams. You've got Ops and you've got Snake to the west. You've got KEKW and Tad to the east. And you've got the blue coming up behind them. They don't have much of an option here. They could always like try to get in a vehicle and just push on forward, but the question is, are there any vehicles nearby? Because I would imagine that if there are, they would have got them by now. And so it does look like they are in a tight position. Now having a look at Ops, one of those key teams who are very close there to Johnny. You can see Snakes over in the distance as well. And these are going to be one of the real threats faced by these, well, 5 teams that are down in this area of the map.
By the way Ops are playing, you'd think they know that someone's over that ridge. I don't know if they know for certain. We have the beauty of having a HUD. I don't know if they I don't know if they do right now. They were paying that direction a lot of attention though, so they may have fired some shots off in the distance that gave some indication that there's a squad or squads coming from that region, because they are acting as though they're about to come into conflict over this hill.
Yeah, I don't know, you never know. At the very least, I would suspect that they are prepared for the possibility that now they're going to start to be able to see them hidden behind those rocks. Down goes Mass. That's the first early kill, not going to be able to be healed back up. And also his teammate is taking a lot of damage too. He's going to probably be left to bleed out here.
He's taking the long-range fight, but he needs to be cautious of the short. NATO will cover the rest of it by taking out Brending. Itty down low. There's another member of Snakes off to the left of them right now. They need to be conscious, otherwise they will get sprayed on and ambushed. Volks is gonna play the long range. Crumpet is close. He just doesn't have the sight lines. If he goes aggressive at the right time, he can come out big in this engagement.
Yeah, holding onto that QBZ, one of those few weapons that is exclusive to this map here on Sandhawk. But instead, well, switching out to the Molotov, is he going to throw it? Yes, he is. Just see if he can get some of that damage in. Well, Itty is still up there, but he looks like he might be just slightly too far away.
Yeah, he lost Brending. If he could have maybe used that nade or a molly a little bit earlier, he could have cut off this aggressive route that NATO and Itty took to get that kill and potentially kept his teammate alive. It's good to apply the utility, try and go for the offensive after the fact, just to see if you can salvage anything. But a little bit more proactivity from Snake would have paid them more dividends, I feel. NATO and Itty know that there was that sniper at afar, but didn't necessarily know that you were going to have Crumpets off to the side. So they are going to be very mindful of where Volks is, but then also they may, after the grenades, know where Crumpets are. And they're going to move around to get higher ground, better position to try and contend with it. Volks got eyes on with the rifle, takes the shot, won't nail it, but it's just going to give Ops more of a reason to take cover. Great shot.
That is a fantastic shot there for Snakes. The big risk they have here is if anything happens to any of them, they're not close enough together to be able to help one another. So they are really relying on getting these shots here onto Ops. We are seeing Crumpets go a little bit more aggressive. He's using the car as cover and looking out for these snipes here from Volks.
Check out the map, see where the state of play is after that new circle goes in. It's a great combo to have. If you don't get knocked down, it is very high risk, high reward, Gio. Like you said, a lot of distance between them to assist each other. But if you can get a connection from Volks from long away, communicate that to Crumpets, who can then just walk around for a spray nice and early, they can actually come out big here. I think they've dealt a hefty blow to Crumpets, already removed him now, so that risk not paying off the Snake. And if he pops his head out, he may go down. Beautiful shots by Itty. Finds the kill from afar, and this two-man unit from Ops staying in the game.
And that was a really, really big threat that they had to deal with. Even though Volks was really far away, there was no way that the members of Ops could make any kind of rotation or move away from their location that they were at without having that risk of being sniped in the process. So fantastic news there for Ops that they were, not only did they get a point, obviously, for those kills, but managed to clear out their own pathways so that they can move on forward, especially given that we knew that there was such a pressure and a threat around that area of the map.
Diddy G is pretty stacked right now. If you're looking at his equipment, he's got himself a level 3 helmet, backpack, and armor as well. So it's going to give him some extra beefiness coming into these final engagements that not a lot of players on the map are going to be able to match.
It's going to make him a lot harder to bring down, that's for sure. And especially with his teammates, like we mentioned him, Firecracker, being able to frag out, being able to get those key, at the very least, key damage that his team can finish off, or key kills, it does make KEKW look like they're going to be pretty strong. Although right now, no teams directly surrounding them that they can take any engagements with. TAD aren't far away, and well, I was going to say it looks like they're in a vehicle, but I think that's just because the thing's moving kind of fast. I think they're actually over in a building somewhere. But either way, right now, no direct threat. So they have a little bit of room to breathe.
Yeah, also in the area right now, CCG will taking a shot at Hazard. Going to get the flush on that one as well. So KEKW going to be playing with reduced numbers right now. Need to be careful because Will has got Cheers Love in his sights. Knows exactly where the gunfire came from. It's going to be mindful. Off down into the bottom in this valley. Firecracker's there. So KEKW, very far spread out right now, is going to be extremely dangerous for him to try and contest this one. As Will, again, making Cheers Love consider his actions twice as he retreats back behind a tree. Unable to regroup with Firecracker. A couple more shots should do it. But he's running straight into the loving arms of Spherix. If he's not careful, TAD will be the ones to take him out.
Will's just spraying and praying, and we're seeing some strafing come out, and it doesn't look like it's going to be enough, and it really does look like Cheers Love is in dire straits right now. That's exactly what happens if Spherix is able to land on those shots that were needed. Still, the damage comes in from Will, and right now we have the University of Kent with TAD facing off with just kind of a sandwich filling in the middle that is KEKW.
Well, Firecracker is trying to spill out the sandwich right now as he moves around to the other side. He's going to try and get himself into the blue, an unconventional angle that maybe the side from Kent aren't going to be looking at. Toxic, not quite in the cover he thought he was, as Will finds an angle. All crowded behind that rock. He's not going to be able to get him now. Sleeper going to try his luck as Omerarian moves. Nado actually getting taken out by Akshay there, so Ops down to one member remaining, as Hassi going to be the one to pick that up from the Arctic squad. Itty, last man standing. Will in the chaos, finding a knock onto Spherix as well from afar. I don't think Will's in a confident position to be able to aggress on this one. Itty has to have fast footwork right now. As Arctic Hassi taking a few shots. Tries to go with the sniper, not going to miss it. Whips out the M4 instead. Wants to go close with this one. Bit of a stalemate. Grenade being thrown out. Going to hold the angle. Akshay walking straight into the action. And Hasty holding. Wants to go above the rock right now. Won't find the flush. Great sense of mind to get into cover to reduce the chance of being eliminated altogether. Will just going to rotate back round to his team right now and hold the angle still. Unable to find any kills from that one.
It does look like Itty from Ops is in a bit of trouble, and we were saying that Ops is a team that they need to just kind of pick it up a little bit, but Arctic just looking like they might be too much of a threat in this case. However, while they're dealing with that, they're not rotating upwards, as many of our other teams are, now that the circle has moved up towards the north. We do have a number of teams in that area. We're seeing the University of Kent starting to move in from the east now. They're going to be a pretty big threat onto those remaining teams. But back here with Itty, he's struggling.
He's struggling, but the smoke's there. He's really careful. Hazy has to take cover and stim up fast. Akshay might be in trouble now because he was obviously going to go for the res with the pressure he relieved, but pre-fire around the corner as expected. There we go. Going to get the final knock onto Akshay. Now he's on the hunt for Hasty, who's just stimming up for his life right now. Wants to get that HP so we can try and put up some semblance of a fight. As Itty needs to count whether he's going to be worth sticking around any longer, purely because the blue is coming in, so he can get the forward momentum and then play edge. Johnny, your tactics aren't going to work again. Toxic's found you out. You have got a vehicle. They're trying to get him in. No, you waited too long. Comms, you're going to have to drive away. Leave your teammates behind. Omerarian trying to find the angle to get that third kill, but I think Com's going to get out of this one alive for now.
Yeah, Marian's desperately trying to run away while also potentially trying to land on some shots. Toxic now joining in. TAD literally just wants some extra points on the board, even though it looks like their own lives are in danger. And I mean, if you're going to die, you might as well bring someone down with you. That's my motto. Is it not yours?
It would be my motto, but I wouldn't want to die here at all. It's 10th place right now, Gio. You need to get into the area. That's not going to give you a lot of placement points, and you still need to get into the circle. Both of these teams probably have the same idea. Oh my god, Hazy actually won the engagement against Itty. I did not see that happening. And now he has to sprint for his life to get into the zone. It'd be such a shame for him to lose out. Com turns it around onto Omarion. Johnny might be showing up right now as he gets a knock and a flush onto one member, and Con will be that last man standing with the sprint, but he's gunned down by Toxic, who now has to worry about getting into the zone himself.
And these teams, Tad and Arctic, both being able to get on those kills, get in that damage, despite fighting the play zone in their own rights. However, right now it looks like it could be okay, but the question is, will it be okay here for Diddy G? Well, flipping things over here to UWL, and this is where things starting to get a little bit tighter, the circle a little bit smaller, and these teams are going to be very hyper aware that they're moving very, very close to this top team, ECG being one of them, and with just Diddy G on the board, things aren't really in his favor.
The last member of Tad just went down. Toxic couldn't get into the area. Atomical from Keck W going to run into Hazy right now, who managed to get into it. He's going to win that engagement. Hazy goes down, so that knocks out Arctic. There's only 2 members from Keck W who've gone for this 1-1 split. Important to note, UWL, our current leaders in the scoreboard, have control of the only compound in this circle, and Kent are getting awfully close to entrenching into their territory.
And you've got to remember that UWL went off to the West Island. They didn't even start in this circle, and they've managed to situate themselves in that position. Gunfire's coming in, seeing a Jinkiel go down, and now US Hazard trying to see what angles he can get. Seeing some healing go up, and off in the periphery, you can see so many different teams who are just around the corner from every other team here. So this is where you really need to watch those angles, because there's always going to be someone watching off in your direction.
Hazard needs to move. He's tanking blue right now. Saint gets that knock onto Atomical, so he knocks out Keck W. Going to be holding the angle still. They're in a great position to walk away with this one, assuming the circle doesn't stray too far away from their current position. University of Stirling Hazard takes out a member from Kingston University, so Kingstonian taking a few hits. Hazard unable to get into the area in time. It's Kingstonian picking up that frag. It's Keck W. Atomical will finally die to the blue zone. Sile dealing some casualties to the team from Kingston University. Holding the angles, don't want to be caught off. UWL definitely look like one of the more competent teams in this tournament, especially considering their standing, but also how they're playing as well. New circle folded, 1 building alive, so that's where Kingstonian are rotating to now. Firecracker's going to have to play this slow, and UWL has to cut through Kent in order to get to that area. Look how they're trying to bind them off by playing circle. Will opens it up on the Sile. Great placement and able to capitalize beautifully. Will get that flush, and the rest of UOWL now know where they're looking, and the engagement they're going to have to take.
Well, in goes the nade. Is it going to get anyone? Doesn't actually look like anything is going to happen just then, but will provide such a threat. Down goes Atom from UWL, and they start to move in on him.
He's going to be a little bit slow, trying to rotation. The support from Kent isn't there right now. Tries to take the engagement with Saint, but the grenade is good to take them out. And that is going to be UWL, the current champions, dethroned by Kent, who are in a great position to take a chicken dinner.
The first map where UWL aren't going to be taking that chicken dinner. And now, this could go to anybody. Savage Sun, not wanting to peek too much because he knows the University of Kent are going to be that team that can catch you out on those angles if you miss peek just slightly.
Will and the boys, so obviously have some veterancy in PUBG Mobile. You've got a player from Keck W coming over from the traditional PC PUBG gameplay. So they're going to have some experience with the game as well. And then you have Kingstonian, who are looking to get into that upper echelon of teams on the scoreboard right now. Really, if Keck W can play this well, play this smart, he can probably capitalize on the engagement and third party the 3v3 that's about to happen. If he pulls the trigger too soon or gets caught out, or this is one-sided, he's not getting anything. Firecracker got caught out, so that's not going to be Keck W. It's now on to a 3v3 showdown. Will taking a lot of aggression. He's going to have to heal up. Kingstonian have the high ground and the better position in this circle.
I don't think the blue zone is going to be too much of a risk, as I suspect these members will be going down fairly quickly. Of course, targeting out Will. He is the big issue on that team, and it doesn't look like there's going to be anyone there to be able to help him so much. It's not going to be working out for them, and it will be Kingstonian who end up taking the round.
Great play for them. They're going to end up quite high on the scoreboard after walking away with a chicken dinner, and you can see what the thought process there was for Kent University. As soon as Will went down, Smoke's utility popped to try and get him back in the game because he's going to be your big gun on the team. And it just didn't work out for them. and they weren't able to get the res. And I don't know whether necessarily Kingstonian were aware who they were knocked and where they were exactly positioned, but they're not going to let something like that slide when it comes down to a one-on-one engagement.
I think the most impressive thing that came out from the University of Kent in that was how aggressive they were onto UWL. They knew exactly who their enemy was. They knew who the team that was really theirs to go up against was, and they ensured they took it to them. We mentioned how UWL, very quickly, they went for that compound. They situated themselves in a really, really beneficial place. Well, what are we going to do if we want to be the ones to take that round, especially as this circle is rapidly moving in? We get rid of them, we dislodge them, we force them into this aggressive engagement, and we make sure we win out those gunfights, and that's exactly what happened.
That's always the risk with a circle and a compound control. You are going to have to emerge at some point if the circle doesn't swing your way. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we've got your final map of the night on your screens. We're going to Vikendi.
Stay alive and be the one. PUBG Mobile. Play free now. Download and play now.
Last stop on our PUBG Mobile World Tour during this Campus Championship. We're going over to Vikendi to close things out. My name's Trid, this is Geo, and things have been heating up over the night. UWL seemed unstoppable until our last map on Sanhok.
Yeah, they got very much pushed up upon by the University of Kent, who we now see sat in second place. We've been calling them up quite a bit about the fact that they do have this professional player on their team, who has just really been, I don't want to say carrying on their backs, because there have been a couple of times, the first map that we saw today, yes, he was the last one remaining, but there have been a couple of times where actually we've really seen a lot of the team last quite a while, but they put so much pressure onto the University of West London. It was Kingstonian, as it's spelled, who were able to get the chicken dinner there, so sat in 6th place there. That means that of the top 6, the Addicts are actually the only team who are sat there without a chicken dinner, but they do have slightly more points.
Fair play to them. That just tells me they've been playing with consistency. If they've not got themselves a chicken dinner, they're consistently finishing in the top half of the leaderboard, getting, quite a substantial amount of kills as well. That's what's keeping them up there right now. So I rate that over one standout performance that Kingstonian were able to pull out.
What I find really interesting is 2nd and 3rd place, actually equal number of points.
Yes.
But we see from the University of Kent, slightly more points coming from the kills, and with PUBG Mobile KEKW, slightly more points coming from placement. And this is pretty much what we predicted right at the start, given that PUBG Mobile KEKW are PC players. They're very familiar with the game, but a little bit newer to mobile.
And hey, young boys, they're racking up more points. They went from 6 to 8 in that last map. They're climbing. Young boy stocks going up.
They get invest now, lads.
Invest now. They can only go up because they can't go down any further.
Oh, they're getting there. They keep getting caught out in places they shouldn't. It's like you want to be like, oh, it's just bad luck, but there's only so many times you can go to the wrong compound, be caught out by the next team over, and it be called bad luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, consistently good team there at the top of the leaderboard. Consistently underperforming team. Well, underperforming relative to the rest of the pack. They're doing their best. Damn it, they're doing their best.
They're playing better than I could.
Yeah, they're probably. Yeah, no, I'd probably play better than them.
Oh no, I'm totally like. I know how, if I could hook up a keyboard and mouse to my mobile
But that's
phone.
cheating then.
So?
Cheating. That's what they.
I mean,
that's what
I
people
don't
do.
condone cheating. Officially, TM are.
So, quotes Geo, in regards to cheating. We're on to Vikendi. Here's your flight path. Heading over from the north, going slightly to the southwest. They're going to be spreading out a little bit more. I expect some teams to drop early to potentially go and loot around Trevno, Cosmodrome area, maybe something over in Peshkova if they're feeling a little bit spicy. But most of them are going to be falling over to the western part of the map, I imagine.
Maybe they like to be in a little bit warmer area, go down to the southwest, want to be away from that snow. You're not into the snow sports?
I don't think a couple
Are you into
of...
snow sports?
Yeah, I'm into skiing. I've done skiing, snowboarding. I'm more into paddleboarding and windsurfing.
Paddleboarding, isn't that just sitting on a boat and using a plank to...
standing on a boat. Standing on a...
Oh,
standing
like
on
punting?
Standing on a board and...
Like punting?
That's what paddleboarding is.
You go to Cambridge and do that?
No, I go further west. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like up the Thames, but where it's actually like cleaner. So like you go west.
Right, so Oxford.
No, it's still technically in West London, but...
Okay, well, there you go. I learned a lot about you and your sporting activities. I've never been skiing or snowboarding, so Vikendi would certainly be somewhere that I would feel very out of my depth in. But you are right in that there has been a pretty decent spread here. We do have some of those teams going up towards the Cosmodrome. As you say, want to go get some of that loot, but otherwise, fairly even distribution.
Yeah, I expect some of the teams to rotate down to Peshkova on that northeast side. Podvosto could be a bit of a hotbed region between KEKW, but you've got to remember Arctic is only playing with 2 members tonight, so they're always going to be taking the 2v4 engagements if they go a little bit too deep into enemy territory. Taking a quick look at UWL, like I said, they'd won 2 maps already earlier this evening, and a good way to cement their dominance in this tournament would be to finish out Vikendi with their 3rd chicken dinner of the night. Of course, they need to go through a plethora of teams to make that happen.
It's not anything they haven't done before.
True.
They have been fairly decent at that. Obviously getting that early loot, being able to find themselves into a fairly good position taking good compounds where they know that other teams are going to have to come up against them, push up against them, relinquish their own positioning to take them on, and doing pretty successful in those gunfights. One of the nice things about UWL is that they don't have one lead fragger who is doing all of the work. They're kind of distributing the labor.
Yes.
Fairly well.
As you should do. You must seize the means of kills production and redistribute it back to the people. Atomical on the rooftop right now has a pretty good idea where Arctic are. They know the rough vicinity that someone is sharing this territory. Don't necessarily know that it is Arctic, so they won't know they have that 4v2 in the bag, guaranteed from the off. Hence the extra caution and the extra respect they're paying.
I mean, to be fair, you said there's only 2 members playing tonight, which is true, and you want to be like, oh, you know, easy kills. But actually, Hazy especially has been showing up today. He's been able to last quite a while and really cause a problem for a number of these teams who are potentially trying to focus on another team. But seeing the circle come up now, up in the northeast, so a lot of those teams who decided to go to those compounds up in that area of the map that we spoke about earlier, they will be there, but straight away Akshay is going to be suffering, and now Hazy doesn't have much of a choice. If he wants to keep his teammate up, he's got to go and heal him up himself, and with KEKW holding on these angles, this could be bad news here for Arctic.
I don't think that he can actually res that, and hence why Hazy has gone even further back, because he's in such a vulnerable position to be able to actually go and res that would actually be suicide. And you can see why, because how clearly and how cleanly KEKW were able to flush that player out. So now the duo squad is just running solo right now. Hazy has to pull out a miracle to get himself up the placements and up the leaderboard to close out the night.
Well, yep, he's going to be like, all right, bye. I tried. We were friends, not friends anymore. And
Peace, homie. I'm out.
I'm in solos now.
Just the SpongeBob meme. I'm a head out and just like gets off the seat and walks away. And now Popcorn and the rest of TAD are going to be just continuing to loot up this building. They're not incredibly close to any other team. And they've got a little bit of time before the circle moves in on them. And they're not too far away from that. So very casual for Popcorn and the lads at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, coming to Vikendi after being in Sanok, like, it's going to be a bit of, slightly more relaxing, at least for the time being, at least here at the start. In Sanok, we saw some really early engagements, but it is the smallest map in the rotation. So it's not the largest map here on Vikendi, but it is going to feel, they're going to feel that difference.
Absolutely. As we take a look around the rest of the map, we focused a lot around the Cosmodrome area, and that's where a lot of teams are going to have to move up to as this is going on. But UWL, they have Mostro by themselves. Movatra to the southwest is where Harriet Watt are going to be based out of. TAD may run into ECG right now. Senior in the area, but he's going to head back down to the winery and cool off a little bit. Portsmouth Paladins, sorry. They're holding off in the southwest. They could actually play spoiler to the rotation that TAD may want to take when they have to move into this next circle.
Yeah, Portsmouth, they're one of those teams that have been able to kind of hold their own a bit in fights. They haven't gone super far when it comes to looking at, for example, the last 5 standing teams, but they certainly haven't been a doormat. And so I think you're absolutely right. TAD, again, they've been doing fairly well, but they have had to take those really aggressive fights, be quite close up, take those short ranges. And so I do think that you're right, that could pose a pretty big block to these rotations that these more southern teams are going to be wanting to take.
It looks like Portsmouth did take a few shots at TAD before they've mobilized back into vehicles. Here's your map 3 winners. Kingstonians just looting up. They threw me off. I thought they were Kingstonians. It would have made more sense.
Well, that's the thing. It should be Kingstonians. I like his tomato hat. It should be Kingstonians, but Kingstonians? Do you know what it is? Do you know why they got a stupid name? It's because that's where John Allen's from.
Yes, Mr. John Allen Cast. He's from that area, and he will be
world famous PUBG Mobile caster.
Yeah, he is, and he's actually going to be gracing this broadcast. Well, not this broadcast tonight, but he will be working on this broadcast at some point. He's going to guest appearance from John Allen. He pops up. No, I believe he's got one of the future weeks of the tournament to jump on and lend his dulcet tones to, as Waif will heal up. We're on board having a quick check-in with Snake, Crumpets, and Mass. Sounded like a list there that wasn't meant to be. Itty taking down Nano, so that's one knock against UCL. Need to close ranks, potentially recover. Omerarian. Hang on a minute, someone's very close to him right now. That's Pinu.
That's smells like a potential fight to me, Trade. And especially
How can
we
you-
know.
I can smell it. I can taste it. It's a fight about to happen. If he's not careful, Pinu trying to stay down and waiting for the storm to pass. If he's not careful, they will check the building. If he fires one bullet, the sharks will be summoned to his location and they will feast down on that blood.
Ooh, but right now seeing a Molotov be thrown in towards UCL from NATO on the side of Ops. And the
that's
rest
so
of the
messy.
team taking on the rest of UCL. Looking like it's going to be Ops who do win out this fight. Not very good for the Central London University.
They just murdered all of them.
They did.
Mercilessly, UCL did not stand a chance. That's our first squad going down, I believe. No survivors.
Such a shame.
And yet again, it's more of these clinical breaches that we see from Ops.
Yeah.
Pinu, he actually survived. He just stayed still long enough and they've left.
They just forgot about him. Just like, nah.
No, I don't think they knew because he didn't move. He didn't make any sounds. They weren't to know he's actually there. And now he can try and walk away safely and hope that no one spots him.
Well, but Spirix is right over there.
Yeah, he can
could
see him.
see him. And Pinu looks like he's considering trying to take that angle and get a shot onto him.
I
No,
wouldn't.
he's decided that's not it. That's not the play.
That ain't it, Chief.
yeah,
He's by
no,
himself.
absolutely not.
Cable, like this is what I see from UWL.
Road
Not
trip.
one vehicles, two vehicles. Split the units. Drive past Young. Please do not open fire on UWL. You will lose that fight.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Yeah, we saw an ADS just then, but it looks like they're not even going to try. They're just going to let them pass on through.
Yeah.
Like, oh, milady, please go through. Just leave us alone. Like, let someone else deal with you. Someone else can kill you. We might, if we survive that long, we'll face you later. But I mean, it's Young. Are they going to survive that long?
Not if they take an engagement against UWL.
No, absolutely not.
I think that they have potential to win some fights in this game, but I don't think they win it against a team that outskills them that much. UWL moving very close to Tad's territory as they're looking to cross over to the easternmost island. They're doing that in their vehicles right now. And once they get onto that eastern side, they've got a lot of open territory where they're not going to run into much contestation, as ECG and KEKW are going to be moving up to the east and moving further north.
Very true. Like, we know that UWL like to stick to the perimeter, the circumference, if you will, of the circle. So it's unlikely that they're going to move up through the center or really push up towards those more northern teams, and will likely just try and chill out a bit, maybe go towards Cement Factory where they could potentially get some loot, get a stronghold, whatever it is they like to do. I say that and it looks like they're just going to move straight up. They're like, no, we don't want the circumference today.
They might be looking to go into Podvosto early because that might be a good position to pivot from in the next phase.
I mean, it's very central, so it could be a good shout.
Yeah, so they're just, obviously they're spreading out over 4 different vehicles right now. So they don't need the 4 vehicles. It's not very fuel economic, not thinking of the environment that much. But what they are thinking of is the cover that it will provide. Speaking of which, Falco's hiding behind the cover of a tree. This is what the vehicles would provide. They would give you a little bit more breathing room if you crash them into a vehicle and detonate them. Atomical, just going to get that flush onto Falkser as Hazza with the recovery. So this is KEKW getting frags on the board. And it's Snake who are the ones that are reeling.
Well, Snake are the ones who are really trying to use these trees for cover, whereas Atomical was really just standing out in the middle of nowhere, taking those blind shots. It could have been a perfect opportunity to try and get a shot onto him, but Cheerslove is going to be falling as he gets caught out in the open, done by Mass. And now the rest of KEKW are going to have to move on without their teammate. Oh, but
Not quite. They're going to go for the engagement instead. They are not going to be taking this one rolling over. They will avenge their fallen comrade. They're taking the fight back to Snake. They got that flush. And they know there's more members in there. Crumpet's going to open fire. And he's losing out on that trade. Thank God he's still standing, because that could have gone seriously wrong for him.
now we're seeing our boy Firecracker move a little bit forward. He's a player we've called out in previous maps. He's been doing a lot of work for his team. Get some pretty good shots. Making landies on his enemy, that would be great. But meanwhile, these members of the University of Stirling are going to be having some issues. But BR looking like they're going to be falling in return, not actually being able to land those shots fully onto their enemy. And Achilles just moving on back, using that car for a little bit of cover. But is he a bit far away? I think he's a bit far away.
I think he's a little bit outrange to go in with that particular...
With a hollow.
Yeah, with the SMG as well. It's not going to get much done from that range. Good stabilization. from that team, though, to stay in. Kingsteonians getting awfully close to Johnny right now. These are one of the solid Snake players. They will often try and sneak their way into these final circles, and they can frag occasionally, but they more often than not, they err on the side of caution. As we can see, Will and the rest of Kent taking that engagement. Beautiful accuracy from there to knock down Knight. One of Johnny have gone down. Just taking that engagement against Kingsteonians. Uzi, don't peek that long, my friend. You've got sights trained on you from afar. The recovery is there for Knight to get him back into the game. And it doesn't look like Kent are going to act on that, but they will hold the angle.
Problem that Harriet would have here is they could turn around and see, well, actually, no, a number of the members of Ken have moved forward, but actually, looks like they're just going to go straight on through, potentially just going to aggress straight in. Will's going to be crossing the road now, join in the fight as well. Osiris had really low health, so he went down pretty quickly, and Sleeper, he doesn't have a lot of health either, so this could actually be very risky here for the University of Ken.
Sleeper wants to take the shots, doesn't quite have the accuracy, and he will get turned on by Uzi, and Will's going to come in late. He has to play cleanup duty on this one as Ben Usher takes a breather to get some health. As Will, at full HP right now, needs to keep his squad alive. The molly to clear out Uzi. He's going to press forward. The spray is there, doesn't get the shots, but he knows exactly where that teammate is. Usher gets finished off. Will emerges into the house. It's going to get him back up into the game. I believe there's one more. He might be upstairs, if I remember correctly, but that's quite a sloppy breach there from Kent. I understand what the plan was. Get the vehicles in, crash the building, draw some attention, let Will come in from behind and capitalize on the chaos. Tar taking a few shots from Johnny, surprised him by jumping out of the window. Turn engagement from Sona Mirza. And they got the man advantage right now. Tar will ultimately go to his grave as they go on a building clearance. Quickly back on what we were talking about there, though. The plan was good. The execution was just a little bit poor. Got the timing off, which meant that you lost 2 members and flushed out before Will could really pop off and get online. Simba holding the angle. There's a squad coming in for a third party. Ops want to capitalize on this one massively. They're going to get that engagement. Ippa, Ali taking the shots as they move in to deal with Johnny and Kingsteonian. Savage Son, the last man standing. He's going to med up, but it might be a fruitless endeavor.
It does look like Ops are pretty much just there to take him down as soon as he steps out. Goes that nade, but obviously nowhere near the target they need. It does provide the smoke that they'll require in order to move on a little bit more forward, have some of that coverage. And now the team are just going to run in. All 4 of them against you on your own when you're low health. A pretty scary situation to be in. But right now, having a look at Hazard, just keeping an eye on this very small sort of compound area where they know that snakes are chilling out.
They're happy to take this 2v2 if they need to, Gio.
Yeah.
You can see Snake are retreating. They're risking a lot here by taking the longer path into an area closer to the blue because they know they were getting aggressed upon, but they didn't want to take that fight. So now KEKW might have to deal with University of Sterling. While we left them, Ops did manage to clear out that last remaining member, so they will get control of that building, but they have to move more central. UWL, right on top of the care package, very close to Ops. If they do not pick their rotation path correctly, they will end up going down early.
And Ops have been doing pretty well so far this round, so definitely don't want to underestimate them, don't want to rule them out too early. I mean, Hazy from the side of Arctic looks like he's in very risky position, but at this point, what does he really have left to lose? Like, he's been at a disadvantage all day, very close to UWL there. He's going to end up getting caught up in a fight at some point. The question is he going to be aggressing on them anytime soon?
I would hope that he doesn't. I would hope that he plays this one much like Johnny do, and be a little bit stealthy and try and play for placements. You could probably win a 1v2 if you play it right. Winning a 1v4 without third-partying the engagement, very, very difficult. And then you throw into the mix that you're trying to do it against a team like UWL? Nah, not going to happen. Not in a million years will that work out for them. Firecracker instantly knocked by Hazard. He had his sights trained on that spot. And now it's up to Hazard to try and bring him back into the game. But they are quite distant because one was looking the rear and Hazard's trying to aggress onto Snake still.
We can see these members of the University of Sterling as well. They're not far away. potential that they could try to come in and take advantage. Hazard over here in the poppy fields? Those poppies?
They look like poppies.
They look like poppies. We'll take them. And just, well, I was going to say looking out onto ECG, but it looks like they're all hopping in a vehicle right here. May make it harder, but Firecracker is going to be brought down there by Hazard.
Yeah, the flush coming in. He wasn't going to get the support in. Hazard's too far away to help him out. Hazy trying to back away. Ops, they picked poorly. They chose the wrong rotation path. And Ali is going to be paying the price. And they're trying to run away with their HP. Hazy, oh no, this is terrible for him. They're going to mistake him for one of the Ops players if they're not too careful. As Atom will go in for the flush on Ali. And Hazy needs to get out of there. He does not want to be caught in this one. It goes completely against the game plan.
Trying to jump in. I was thinking that jump in, get in.
Yeah.
So far, he's surviving it. Syel just knows that these members of Ops, very specifically NATO, isn't far away. Just trying to check those angles, but he is in a precarious position here because NATO is over in that building. If he manages to get that angle onto the members of UWL onto Syel here, that can make it very hard. He's got a teammate who's watching out for him, but still, difficult position for UWL to be in.
Oh, great tag there. Actually, Hazy is returning fire. This is what we're talking about. He knows there's a third-party engagement going on. He can capitalize, and that's what he's trying to do. Great knock on one of the members of UWL, and now he's going to change the angle. Try and stay down, stay hidden, pick off members of the losing team, and then potentially move on to the winning team afterwards and see if he can come out with a couple of extra kill points. If not, he can always bug out of the engagement and play for placement.
Well, 31 players still alive, so there's still plenty of people left here on the board. But a number of them are yet to move into the circle. And with such a kind of cluster around Mount Kresnik, where there are these players and these teams, where UWL are, where Arctic is, where Ops are, it's likely that as all these teams start to move in, all of those players that are there, they're not all going to be moving in with them.
No, not at all. Toxic Spherics, they're finally dealing blows to University of Kent, and they will recover from this one with a full-powered squad. Makes a difference to see one of these more coordinated teams go into the final circle as a full-strength unit. UWL, they're on the warpath though. They are at danger of running into Ops. Atom already has. Don't peek the angle, Itty. You will end up losing your life right there. Saint going to be in position to throw the grenade over. He has the high ground as well. This is going to give that extra travel. Great shot from Hazy. He plays spoiler and the grenade's going to drop right on top of him and finish him off. Hazy, he's just picking these madmen off. He's finding the right opportunities. He's doing so much damage to UWL, and I don't even think he planned to do that.
You know what I'm starting to think? The only other player on this board who'd be able to play solo like this is Will. So, Hazy and Will, you need to join the same university so that you can be doing this together.
Transfer all of your credits to another institution in the next week or so, just for
PUBG Mobile.
just so you can group up together. Hazy eyeing up another shot right now. Didn't have the time to find it on Syel. A little bit too janky with the movement. But he's going to stay down low. He's honestly playing this much like a scalpel rather than a hammer that these teams go in. Omerarian actually going to walk past the member of Young. And now he's going to walk into another set of them with the spray with the micro Uzi. Ran out of the clip on that one. Oh, the aim is so bad. He's unable to find it. They're
so
trading clips. Come on, it's a high-pressure scenario. Omerarian, he finally gets it after 3 magazines and will be shut down by Gemp Grower.
Oh my goodness.
The molly.
I mean, we're talking about maybe short range. Yep, Molotov going on in, not able to get anyone though, and Hazy still alive and well. He's in this nice little sort of alcove on the top of a roof here. Well, you know, all the plebs downstairs, they're all fighting against each other.
Sitting in his ivory tower, snickering.
Oh, look at you down there fighting amongst yourselves. Ha ha ha.
Grabs the rifle.
Yeah. Bringing out the sniper. Oh, he just missed as one of those members of UWL did dive behind that roof. But there is a potential that he will be able to see a member of TAD as they come over the hill behind him. He's just got to ensure that he's watching his flank as he has no teammates to do it for him.
And Opsnado are going to breach into this circle now as well. You got 24 seconds before it moves in and triggers phase number 6. 9 squads remaining, 23 alive. That's Not a very good situation to be in. You should be expecting 36 if your math is correct. I can do math. I'm proving it many times tonight, Gio. And 23 is short of 36. That's actually short by 13. Make that 22. It's now 14. Look how quick I'm doing maths.
Your maths. I can't do maths that fast. I can't do maths that fast, and I have a degree in a mathematical science, so it's incredibly embarrassing.
All those years where my dad forced me to watch the darts.
Well, I had a really cool childhood.
Yeah, amazing childhood. Hey, you know, I can subtract from 180 real quick.
Yeah, I bet you can.
And Hazy can subtract from 100 real quick as he takes down Omarion, applying pressure to Tad. They're going to drop down a smoke grenade, relieve some pressure in order to get a fast and safe res.
Tad still staying up for now. They know that they have that nuisance sat on the roof, and they know that they have that nuisance off to the right where UWL are. And this is just sort of a game in and of its own right. Just trying to bring down Hazy as he runs across the map, and he's going to be bleeding on out as all that damage was landed into him. He had a good run.
He did, and he was either going to die to Tad there or UWL. And both of them, by trying to fight Hazy, gave away that there are more teams in this fight and there are more people in the area. So now they are completely aware that they are the next on the chopping block for each other.
And it is funny when you think it was just one guy and he was who each of these teams were focusing on, not each other. And maybe they're scared of each other a little bit, but he did last a long time. But we are seeing Ops start to move in on these other teams that are nearby, most notably ECG, as the blue starts to move in. So that damage will be coming in too. Now they're trying to isolate Sten here and get that kill onto him. That's great. That's going to be a point on the board for Ops. And now time to look at the rest of the team.
Survival of the fittest at work. He's the back of the herd and he gets taken out by Ops. And they're going to move in for the rest of the team. Circle in the next phase. Currently no one is in, so there's going to be a lot of rotations. The action on the eastern side is going to heat up dramatically as all of these teams try to mobilize. And they're stacking up on top of each other, only separated by rocks and trees, Gio.
Rocks and trees indeed. This is, again, another one of those situations where you have to rely on that terrain play. It's like we were talking about in Miramar. Toxic is going to be going down as well as Omarion, so these are members just falling. Popcorn 2, Tad. It's not a good day for Tad at this point in the map, especially as we see UWL start to jump on down and they take the dominance in this part of the map and will start to move on into the circle.
They served an important purpose though, Gio. They have divided the power of UWL. They've dropped them down to 2 members remaining, so that does put a massive thorn in their side of trying to walk away with a third chicken dinner and stops them from accelerating away too far. University Sterling with some great tracking onto Itba. Able to get one knock down, and they're not able to get the flush. No utility for the player from University of Sterling. Still able to get the nades and the Molotovs in, and as he aggresses, he's picked off by Ops, who will now heal up. They've got utility of their own. They're going to throw in a molly to cut off the reinforcements for University of Sterling and look to take out Hazard and Ajinkya if they try and save their down teammate.
I mean, it was a really risky decision there from the University of Sterling. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're going to have to start rotating. But the fact that University of Sterling decided to run out in the open like that was crazy. And that gives Ops this opportunity to move on in, be aggressive. They have these 2 members isolated. In the meantime, members from Portsmouth are going to be falling. And gradually, the number of members alive on the map is going down. Just 11 left, going down now to 10 as Wait is the last to fall.
Oh, Achilles went for the wrong member there. Aimed for the down to try and get the flush rather than fighting the alive comrade there. And yeah, you're right, Gio. University of Sterling made a massive misplay there. They had the circle. The pressure was going to force a rotation from Ops, and they could have just held the position and capitalized on it. Instead, now they're going to get one knock, leave University of Sterling, wrap around behind them whilst paying them attention to make sure they don't get them coming into their rear. They're able to put them to bed and move into the circle, gain great position to fight against a weakened UWL and a weakened Portsmouth.
Well, now Ops do have the advantage as they have the most number of team members left on the board, and this could be their time to shine. We've been saying it all evening, Trid, that we need to be looking out for Ops. We need to be looking out for their golden moment. Well, this could be the opportunity for their golden moment. They have that advantage. No one else on the board wants to move into this circle just yet because it's so open. There's nowhere ideally for them to hide. And now with members like this, Tal just out in the open, potentially at risk. There we go. Goes down down to Itty, and this is just making it so much easier for Ops to potentially take that chicken dinner at the end of this map.
This is their map to lose at this point, Gio.
Oh, yeah.
They only have to deal with UWL and UOS right now. UOS, they are so weakened in this corner. They do not have a strong position, and their cover exists right on the edge of the circle, so they are going to have to move fast when it cuts in. That's going to make it easy to engage. They have just given away so much information that they're over there by blowing up grenades in the general vicinity, and it's causing Ops to pay them more attention. They've just made things worse for them. The smoke's going to go off. Itty, holding the angle, will get into cover with the third person. Doesn't necessarily see them, but Itba will. He'll feed that information over to his team, and the pincer will be in effect when the rush comes in. Shots fired on the Hazard. It's going to be Nado going down, but Itty's holding the angle. Hazard needs to be careful. They're going to go for the flank. Spread out, get the angles, and drop this member of UOS. But the bullet's being traded in. Itba's been dropped. Hazard is turning this around onto Ops, and he needs to find his additional kills. Itty under pressure. Hazard is on the brink of doing this one and knocking Ops off. It was their map to lose.
He did it!
But it wasn't theirs to lose anymore. It was Hazard's to claim, and now he can go and put UWL to bed and potentially clutch this out for University of Sterling.
What did not look like an overly pressurizing situation there for Ops ended up being so, as they couldn't hold on when it really mattered. And now UWL are going to be moving in onto Hazard, this last remaining member of the University of Sterling, going up against the leading team in the standings. This is where palms are going to start getting sweaty, but if he can do against them what he just did against Ops, then this could be a fantastic finish for Hazard.
Oh yeah, it's squeaky bum time for Hazard right now. He needs to be able to find a way to win this one. He's in a good position. He's got some cover from the house, but because of that engagement, UWL know exactly where the firefight took place, so no likely positions Hazard could be occupying. They're going to be able to hold this one down. If the circle shifts in the favor of UWL or too far away from that house, Hazard will be exposed too early to put up any semblance of a fight. He has to catch UWL in between a position he can lock down and catch them mid-rotation when they're not coordinated. Them holding static positions like this against Hazard, he's not going to win this 2v1.
No, not at all. You also have to remember that he was able to bring down Ops in a very, very close range situation. Whereas right now, that isn't the case here. And UWL have really exceeded when it comes to taking those long range shots. So this does not put Hazard in the best position right now, but ultimately he's going to have to try and do something. Now the members of UWL starting to run towards him, and he's going to be aware. He doesn't know where their position is right now, and he has no information being fed to him like these members of UWL will have to each other.
They know where he is. Look at the positions they're taking. They have to know Hazard is in that house, and when the circle starts moving in 20 seconds, Hazard is going to have to emerge. And there's only one of two windows he can really get away from, and they're going to start tossing nades in. He's going to have to burn a lot of his stims before he even shows his face. And to be fair, Atom, I believe he has some grenades left in his inventory, but he's going to take a different angle. Hazard's going to hear the footsteps coming in.
Going for the pincer.
Going for the pincer, and the time's off. He has to emerge. He's going to try and stim up as best he can before he goes in. Atom may not want to let him do that. The second he walks out this window, he's running into gunfire. The angle already being taken from Cable. He's going to peek. Hazard not exposing himself just yet. Circle still moving in. Atom's going to go for the rush. They're holding multiple angles. He has to emerge out of the blue, and it's so clean from UWL. They set up the trap. They spring it perfectly, and they walk away with their third chicken dinner of the evening.
And it was super impressive what Hazard was able to do then, but in the end of the day, the better team won. They were able to get that positioning to work. They had more members left on the board. They could feed that information in, and rather than just rushing in through that front window and hoping for the best, they decided to go around and make that smart pincer play so that they could come in from both angles, really trap their opponent and bring him down to secure, well, I say secure, to retain their spot at the top of the standings.
They're just increasing that lead that they've generated over the course of this week, and that was one of the things we talked about at the top of the show. Let's take a look at our standings though, just to reinforce this point. We spoke about at the top of the show how I talked about, let's be specific, I'd be more impressed by the teams that can accelerate the growth from week 1 to week 2. That's exactly what UWL have done.
They have.
3 out of the 4 possible chicken dinners they've walked away with. They've racked up more kills than any other team as well, and they have a clear 52-point lead over the person in second. That is so much cushioning to walk into the sequential weeks with.
I mean, it's wild. You look to see, you'd have to be between 6th and 7th place to be 100 points below first place. Usually you see that a little bit lower on the scoreboard where that difference is, but the drop-off is absolutely wild. Now, of course, we have seen, I mean, fantastic play from other teams, but where we see especially those top 4 spots be pretty much exactly the same as it was coming into today, and that goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, Trid, and that is today is going to give us an idea of where the consistent spots of these teams are going to be. Who was a fluke, who's going to consistently do well, and it looks like these are the teams to watch out for.
Absolutely, they're definitely the top dogs of the seedings right now, but when you look at the rest of the rankings as well, University of Sterling able to get up there really off the back of that performance on Vikendi at the end there by Hazard being able to take that 3v1 against Ops. Does climb the entire team up the rankings. Yet to find a chicken dinner, but they are above some teams who have, like Kingsteonians, they have a chicken dinner, but consistently they aren't finishing that high, and so ultimately you're rewarded over time for your great standing.
And I think you also do have those interesting teams like University of Sterling and also like Arctic, where a lot of these teams at disadvantaged positions. Okay, University of Sterling, they did really well with just one guy remaining who was able to bring down Ops, who are this amazingly aggressive and doing very well team. And then also Arctic, as I mentioned, at a massive disadvantage today as not all of their team were available. If they're doing as well as they have been doing because of that, going forward, once they're back to their full squad and they're actually able to play as that, they could be a really scary team.
Imagine if they had a full squad.
Imagine if they had a full squad.
How dangerous they could actually be. That's just some food for thought moving into the following weeks. Myself and Gio have had a fantastic time here. If you want to keep up to date with the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship, you can get all the information by going to the Twitter account at NSE_GG and visiting the website nse.gg. Trid, Gio, it's been fantastic. We'll see you again next week.